right.
Will everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag?
Back in session.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion to sign Treasury warrant.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Diane Peterson, Assessor's Office. Where is she?
Right here, right
Would
front.
you like to go up to the podium, please?
Board members, you can reference what Diane is speaking to in your old business. You have highlighted areas of the annual town meeting warrant, so 2 articles.
Which one do they have first?
Oh,
Did you have questions
question.
on both or just
Why
one?
don't
Or
you give us a
both?
quick recap and we'll move
Okay,
for.
so the Board of Assessors was proposing 2 articles. One was to go to town meeting to accept Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 56, which is I don't have to read the whole article, but it's an abatement, a property tax abatement for Massachusetts National Guard and reservists on duty in foreign countries. This is an abatement that you can provide to people that are serving outside of the country for a period of up to 2 years, a full real estate tax abatement. So I provided some additional information about that I got from veterans agencies because the board wasn't sure if how would it impact. One, there's really no way of knowing because that information is kept confidential. So we really don't know. We do have a couple of people who file for motor vehicle exemptions because those are also exempt. So there's other information there that I provided to you about the financial difficulties a person may go through while they're serving the country. And this is fully reimbursed by the state. And it's only a local option for a 2-year period, and then we have to re-vote it at town meeting.
Okay.
Any questions? So the second article is for the deferred taxes. So the town can increase the gross receipts from $20,000, which it is currently today, but the local option allows the community to vote to increase that to the circuit breaker amount for non-head of household, which currently is $57,000. That would be the income threshold for a person that wanted to defer their taxes. So it just gives the town another tool to be able to provide something when a person is having financial difficulty. It also reduces the interest rate from 8% during the term of the deferral to 5%. It could go anywhere lower than that, but talking with the treasurer and other communities that we provide this service for, 5% seems to be a reasonable interest rate based on the current interest rates for borrowing money. So it is a product that is similar to a reverse mortgage for people that can't afford to pay their taxes. But that deferral comes off the books the day that the property is transferred and is fully paid back with interest.
At time of sale.
That's right.
Okay.
so the Board of Assessors did vote to request that these articles be.
That's right.
So, can I have a motion to place on?
I'll make the motion to place. I think it's only right for those that are serving that we protect our veterans and give them some leeway.
Well, this isn't veterans.
No, the first.
The first
article.
one. Mm-hmm.
It's
This is-
active duty.
Right.
Outside the country.
It's national, yeah.
National Guard.
National
It's
Active
National
duty.
Guard and reservists out of
Active
the country.
duty military.
Right.
It won't help, but I mean, it won't help our veterans, just to be clear.
No, we do have veteran exemptions, and we have maxed out whatever we can do legally under the local options that we currently have.
I'll second. I just have a question. It's specific to National Guard and reservists.
Yes, it is. Massachusetts National Guard and reservists on active duty in foreign countries, period.
And I apologize for not knowing this. How do we currently care for Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force?
All of them fall under this.
They would fall
It's
under
not branch specific.
All
It's-
branches. It's
That's
not
all branches.
National
specific
Guard and all
to.
reservists on
Yes.
active
Right.
duty. Okay.
That covers every branch.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, I saw.
Sheila seconded.
Your second,
Yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
We'll do some, if it passes at town meeting, we'll provide public information on the website, and when we do our Council on Aging program with all of the abatement or exemptions that are available to people, whether income or veterans, we'll provide information about this as well.
Okay.
Will we be able to link those MGLs, the chapters?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
To the clerk, just for
Okay.
clarification, that's for both articles, placement, the motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Did you
I
need me to stick
thought I
around
saw Mike
for?
Sullivan here somewhere.
Yeah, right in the back.
Come on up, Michael. RDIC Chairman, Spartan Race Parking. Please come talk to us about this great race.
Good evening. Mike Sullivan, Crawford Road, Chairman of the RDIC. I'm here really just kind of as a courtesy to let the board know that we have been in negotiations with the quote-unquote Spartan Race Group, and they have a major function down at Treasure Valley, and they've been looking for a place to for parking. And I'll give you all the details you want, but the bottom line is we've reached agreement. We've reached agreement with them for the price of $10,000. They're going to park the weekend of May 12th and 13th, up to 2,500 cars.
Let's get this
I have
going
met
later.
with the representative of Spartan, with the chief of police, with the chief of fire department, and the DPW. So everybody is aware of what each other's expectation is. Spartan pays for everything from detailed police officers, ambulance, towing, restrooms, parking attendants, the whole deal. Basically, the town doesn't have to do anything other than support them. So I'm just letting you know that it's not signed, sealed, and delivered yet, but I spoke to him today, and he said it will be. So I want you to be aware that there will be an impact of traffic, obviously, but the town will gain $10,000 in revenue from it. So,
And we have the appropriate sign-offs like any other vendor that comes onto any town property as far as liability and insurance and so forth.
I have forwarded all of those so far to Margaret.
Oh, great.
I think we're still waiting for an answer on one, or I'm not sure exactly where that is, but we've communicated to them, and that's in process, so
Great.
it's basically $10,000 that the RDIC has raised for the project.
They pay their own police details, right?
Everything.
The $10,000 is just one
That's
piece of all of their incurred costs.
$10,000 in our pocket with no expenses.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be any kind of issue with setting up on Friday, having to deal with the school buses coming
They
and
have
going?
told, I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
With the school buses coming and going and all the parents coming and going on
Yeah,
Friday.
we have talked about that, the chief of the police and he and the, I forgot what he called him, chief, the race coordinator or whatever.
Yeah, all the traffic that's gonna be coming in on Friday is gonna be on site at Treasure Valley, so it won't have any impact in town.
But they will be putting up signage and so on, but it won't have any impact on school traffic.
Does anybody in this room know when is the Rutland Little League parade?
Thought it was the 12th.
think it is the 12th, yeah.
I don't know any details on time, but that's the date I had marked off in my calendar.
I think the only thing we might want to think about is whether we only allow entrance and exit for parking for Treasure Valley on Maple Avenue.
We've discussed that with the chief, and he and the race coordinator are gonna
Okay,
organize that.
okay.
I wasn't aware of the Little League parade,
I
but,
heard that date and yeah.
so whether the buses only come in and out through the school property or
Right,
whatever,
right.
I'm leaving that to the expert over there to deal with.
Okay.
And they've been great, very supportive, and everything's gone fine. The only other thing with the hospital is, through the efforts of Mr. Kelleher and his group, they cleared the beaver plug up of the culvert under Maple Ave. I can't remember the name of the road. The road that, Rutland State Hospital Road or whatever it's called. Rutland Heights, thank you. And that was a major ordeal. How far back was it, Gary?
How far back was it?
How did you have to go?
Oh, that was a 2-football field length.
Yeah, it was like 500 feet or something is where the pipe was plugged, so they were able to clear that. Believe it or not, the water on the north side of the road at some points was 16 to 18 feet deep. So, you know, there was a big concern about backing up into people's yards and septic systems and so on, and we're dealing with some of the issues that may have fallen out because of that as well. Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
To the chair, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Mike, I know the process, and you only did about $2,500 to start for the cars being parked here, so nice job, thank you. But to the chair and to Mike, does that $10,000 go to the general fund, or is it a chance that that could be used for future projects or development or surveyances or whatever has to be done up the heights?
That's my hope. That it gets earmarked to the,
Yeah.
you know.
The accountant was able to put the money from the tree
Tree cutting.
cutting into a separate fund, and I will speak to him about the same for this.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
So there's 5 seats up here. That makes 6, I think 7, 8, in case, how many people are outside?
Well, we're going to take this out of
Thomas,
order.
fight.
We're going to kind of go out of order here. We're going to go to the street layout, Grizzly Drive, Arrowhead, whatever. Intentional. So, who do we want to hear from first? We may, Mr. Grizzly, I'll give you 5 minutes.
You want me to go first?
You go first, and we'll give you 5 minutes. We're cutting everybody to 5 minutes and no longer, because otherwise we'll be here
So,
midnight tonight.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair,
sir.
and members of the board. George Carizzi, I represent the applicants in their petitions to the Select Board to lay out certain ways in the Bear Hill Estates and Bear Hill 2 subdivision. The application deals with Horizon, Clealand Circle, Grizzly, and a small portion of Arrowhead. We were here, I'm certain everybody remembers, we were here in the fall with a similar petition. At that time, as-built plans hadn't been done, and there were issues about the state of the project and whether it was ripe for street taking. It was not. As of today, April 23rd, the project is not ripe for taking. That is, so right off the top, without any dispute as to whether or not the project right now at this time is ripe for taking, you'll hear no argument from me, from my clients, from anybody that says that the property as it is right now is ripe. I will tell you that it's our belief that the project will be ripe by the town meeting. And what the step is, we're requesting that the town lay it out at this time, the select board lay it out, so that by the town meeting, if the town is satisfied that the project is complete, there will be a procedure in place for those roads to be accepted at the town meeting as public ways. So recognizing that as we speak right now, the project has deficiencies, and that's not a dispute. All right, there's been a lot of the work that has to be done on the project couldn't be done before the spring. We unfortunately had late snows this year, so usually by this time, the weather is cooperative in allowing the completion of a lot of the work. That's not been the case this year. Fact of the matter is, it didn't actually begin snowing until March, and it didn't stop until literally the other day. Hoping that that is completed before the town meeting, the last portions of the punch list can be completed, confirmed by the planning board with recommendation to the town at the town meeting for acceptance of these ways. The planning board has been working on this, has been reviewing it. They have peer review in place. They've been doing inspections. Town has had a peer review relative to the bridge. They've done inspections. Work's been done on the bridge. Work's been done on the site. Work continues to be done on the site. And we feel very confident that within the next 2 weeks, the work will be complete. I know that the planning board has recommended that as of today, if you were to take a snapshot as of today, they could not recommend acceptance. But we also know that as of the town meeting, the planning board, we're confident that as of the town meeting, the planning board would be able to give that recommendation. The planning board remains willing to serve in that role, review it up until the town meeting, and give their final nod of approval, yea or nay, that night. And if the town lays it out, if the select board lays it out, puts it on the warrant, and the planning board says it's acceptable, DPW says it's acceptable, peer review says it's acceptable, then this should go to the town peoples for a vote. If, however, the town planning board says it's not acceptable, or DPW says otherwise, or peer review says it's not acceptable, then the town can pass over that warrant article and not vote on it, and not accept it, and put it off until whatever deficiency might remain is resolved. So we're here tonight not saying you have to take them tonight. We're here asking that the board leave that process open. Leave yes, let us get to yes by the town meeting. And that's all this process is about, is asking the select board to lay them out, put it on the warrant, publish it. If it's not to everyone's satisfaction, pull it. But you can't put it on the warrant. You can wait till the next meeting or the next meeting or the next meeting, but we're requesting that the board put this on the warrant now so that if it's acceptable on the 12th, the town can vote to accept it. I'm happy to address any specific questions that any of the members would have relative to the site. That's a general presentation as to what we're requesting.
Thank you. Any questions from the board before we go to planning, fire department, police department, highway?
No, I'd like to hear from them.
Yeah, let's go around to the departments.
Thank you, Mr. Christie.
Thank you.
Well, we'll start with the planning board, please.
Please, Norm.
Okay, you should have in front of you a letter that I wrote regarding the Bear Hill subdivision. I'm not going to read the whole letter. That's kind of ridiculous, but just a little bit of an update.
Excuse me, Norm, 1 second.
Yep.
We have 7 seats in here. If anyone wants to come in here, we do have seats available. If you want to come in and participate, please do so. There's 4 up front, and there's 3 scattered throughout. Just come on forward. We don't bite.
Not hard.
No, exactly. All right. Like a seat? Okay.
5-year-old. I'll bring him in with me if you want.
It's up to you. I just want to make sure we offer.
Room up here.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Norm. Sorry about that.
The letter that I sent to Selectmen on the 18th of April basically cited a peer review report by Quinn Engineering, which showed some 90 deficiencies, 30 of which are actually things on the ground that they could not locate or found were missing or something on this idea. The remainders of those were errors probably just on the as-built plans of things not being depicted as they were supposed to be. I have since talked with Quinn Engineering. They have received an updated as-built plan. I guess it's fair to assume that that would probably take care of the 50 some odd, 50 or 60 some odd items that were just plain wrong on the plans and not necessarily anything wrong on the ground. That update plan does not reflect any of the deficiencies on the ground, which leaves some 30 different things, and this is anywhere from visibility of water supply turnoffs to location of the bounds in the in the subdivision to, I don't know, a couple of guardrail issues, a little bit of ponding on some flat areas of the roadway, and so forth. Those are the things that still have to be corrected. So I guess, what I would say is we're probably still looking at 30-plus deficiencies, at the subdivision itself. I did meet with Mr. Blair this afternoon at the Bear Hill subdivision, and just tried to, confirm to him that what has to happen is these deficiencies have to be corrected, and they have to be corrected in time for our peer review engineers to get in there, make another inspection, and write up a follow-up report on that. There's kind of a second issue, and this is regarding the Bear Hill Bridge, which had a number of deficiencies. I noticed there that at least a couple of those have been corrected just within the past couple of days, so it appears, there's some activity going on regarding that. But I guess the bottom line for planning board is whatever corrections need to be made must be made, and they must be made in a timely enough fashion that our engineers can get out there. Some of these also, I'm sure, would fall under the order of DPW. So they are going to have to take a look at it as well, so that we have something in front of us to say, oh yeah, it's done, we could then give a favorable recommendation. I'm prepared to schedule a planning board meeting for the night of town meeting if necessary to accomplish that.
So, Norm, how long does it take to do a peer review?
If we're talking about things on the ground, I'm sure, they would not be out there for more than a day, to take a look at these things, on the ground. However, then they still have to go back and write things up. From the time they are notified that everything is done, I would say you're talking a minimum of 4 days. That's a bare minimum.
So town meeting's what, the 12th?
Correct.
So Norm, you said you were willing to meet on the day of town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a grand total of 19 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then we subtract 4 from that for the peer review to happen. And I hear what you're saying. A lot of these things are plan design issues, things that need to be added, small things.
Yeah.
Even some of the sort of middle things, trees planted in a cross-country drain easement, they can be taken out. Street lights that have not been installed, trees that have not been installed, the valves that have to be brought up, you mentioned those. 3 weeks, or last 2 weeks.
It's going to take quite a workforce to get
well,
it done.
and I guess I think that's where Skip was headed, and that's where I'm headed too. In particular, numbers 2 and 3 on the Quinn Engineering plan. Once tied in, so this is something that hasn't happened yet. DMH 2730, designed to discharge into the infiltration gallery. One of them does. One of them discharges beyond it. One of them is not installed yet. And the culverts must be tied into the infiltration gallery, and then the board should be requesting a design engineer certification. Is that in addition to the peer review? Is that part of the peer review? So we would need that as well. The existing drain system in Grizzly on the eastern side of the bridge the basin hasn't been constructed yet. I guess, we've been here before, right? And I understand you went up there today. I guess, despite the fact that you'd met last week to take another look, this doesn't sound like 2 weeks worth of work to me. Not even close.
that, I'm not a construction expert.
You've been
okay?
doing this a long time.
I've been doing the planning board for a long time, but I've never run an excavator in my life. Okay.
But we've had plenty of developments come through,
You know.
and this is a really long list.
It is a very, very long list. I won't deny that.
But given the resources, it can be accomplished.
Nothing's impossible.
Well, yeah, but you'd have
You
to
know,
dedicate quite a bit of resources to it.
Yeah.
What are your ongoing concerns about the bridge? I'm looking at the Gill Engineering.
Okay.
Now, the last time they were out was end of November.
Yeah. The one concern, if you look at their report on the third page of the report, the picture on the top left
Yeah.
shows the guardrail and the
Right.
vertical I-beams that are supporting the guardrail and the sidewalk. To at least my estimation, and Gill Engineering cited it as well, if you can picture a kid on a bicycle coming down Grizzly Drive and onto that sidewalk, heading straight for all of these solid steel I-beams sticking straight up, if they happen to hit one of those, that would cause some serious damage.
We
Okay.
saw this when we did our walkthrough in the fall. When did we do our walkthrough? There were multiple.
October, maybe?
Okay, so that's still as it was when we all walked it. All the boards, it was a big group that day, right?
Yeah. Mr. Blair has agreed to put up a shield along that.
Can I ask you about the last paragraph? And actually, I remember the guardrail, but this was the one that kind of stopped me. Recommends the town request the designer of record, the DOR, to provide calculations for the bridge and certify its safe load carrying capacity. That the plans did not reference any specific design load or code specs. Do we have those now?
No. Through the chair.
I gave it to you when we finished the bridge.
Does Gary have them?
I don't know. We're gonna wait and
I-
let Gary get up before we beat anybody.
I do not recall getting them.
You don't think you have them, nor?
I'm not gonna say we don't, but I don't recall getting them.
Thank you, Norm. Do we have comments from the fire department?
Seth Knight, Fire Chief. In regards to this issue, I think the fire department's concerns were brought up this past fall when this issue was brought forward. We did all meet out on the site in October. The concerns that we had noted, I think the planning board jotted those down. The only significant concern that I do have is with Arrowhead. With the Arrowhead not being fully completed as a full road, right now it only goes down 3 or 4 houses. There are 2 houses that used to be on a common driveway that were accessed from Britnell. That part has been decommissioned, and so these 2 houses, pre-existing houses to the subdivision, are now accessing through what is accessed now through Arrowhead. It is a dirt section, very poorly maintained. There's no turnaround for fire apparatus, and I do not recommend Arrowhead. That's all I got.
The others, Seth, you're okay with?
All the concerns the fire department have, the planning board has
Just
on their list.
Arrowhead.
It's just Arrowhead.
No,
Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Yes.
I just want clarification.
How about all your hydrants?
no, he said they're all on planning board's
They're all on,
list.
on
they're
their
on
list, yes.
on planning board's
Yep.
list.
Yeah.
All right.
You specifically pulled out Arrowhead. But
Right.
what you're saying is Arrowhead, the issues you have are the only things that are not referenced in the planning board?
I would say that's
Lists.
that was discussed, but I just want to reemphasize that again.
Yeah.
So the hydrant issues, again, we walked these, we talked about them, we
Right.
all looked at the hydrants and
Yep.
the issues, nothing.
The hydrant, there's one hydrant that the guardrail comes too close to on either side.
Right, I
That's-
remember that.
That's on the list, has not been fixed. But again, as this gets closer, we're going to look through the peer process, these things will be addressed, I'm sure. So,
Because as it stands right now, you can't access that hydrant, correct?
No, not that
Right.
hydrant, no.
But did
The
it
others are
apply to
fine.
the list for
Yep.
the punch list?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Does the chief have any pros
I
or
have
cons?
no concerns from this department.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kelleher, please. This is the concern with the roads and what layout, not all this other
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. I've been up to Grizzly several times. Couple things, and these gentlemen before me have certainly mentioned my items, but a couple things that do have to be taken care of are street signs. The fire hydrant, I think Seth just mentioned it on Clealand Circle. There's not enough clearance to hook hoses to it. There's transverse cracking in that new pavement that has to be sealed, especially right now at this time of year while they're open. If they start to shut during the summer, you can't seal them and they'll open further next winter. The debris has not been removed from what will be a town right away. So there's a lot of things down at the access road that have to be taken out of there and also on Grizzly. And the bridge joints have been installed like Norma said, but the last thing on the bridge was the pedestrian and bicycle safety devices have not been installed, nor is the approach to the bridge as far as the sidewalk goes ADA or handicapped accessible by the 20-to-1 rule. So, and the pump station has not been approved. However, as Clee knows, it is lined up, and as soon as we're ready to go, they're going to move in and take care of that inspection process. And that's what I have for DPW.
Gary, are all those items still on the planning board's punch list as well?
Yeah.
So that you're mentioning that you have knowledge of, but is also included, yes, no?
The sewer pump station is not on our list.
Okay.
Right, okay, yeah. That's
But the other items that Gary mentioned are on your list?
The signs are on your list?
Yes.
All right.
Road sign.
I didn't see it.
Number 90.
Number 90. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, yeah.
Just 1 minute, okay? We have anything else we want to talk about before we
Well, is there anybody else from our department heads that we need to,
just talked to
You've
all?
done.
everybody, we've
You've
got
done it.
everybody?
Yep.
Okay,
We did
all
Nick,
yours.
and Nick said he was
You had nothing, okay,
nothing.
okay. Your call, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Is the crack in the pavement on the list?
Yes, it is. He just mentioned it.
You
Nobody
opening it
else?
up? You want to open it up to the audience?
That's, anybody else in the public want to say a
This
few
is-
words?
this
We're
is
not,
your time, folks,
We have
yeah,
a mic right above you.
yeah.
Tom Galvin, 27 Grizzly. I really don't have anything to add that you don't already know as far as the condition of the road. And I'd like to make a comment about 6 months ago when this vote was first taken. The comment we heard at the beginning was because of the snow and the cold, they didn't do the repairs. I'm pretty sure they're building houses all over town. Pipes and drainage pipes and foundations are going in, so I don't know why the cold and the winter just affected our neighborhood and no other neighborhood. But I think saying that, and 6 months has gone by and these haven't been corrected, so I think it's an insult for them to come in here and ask us to give them a favor. I just, that's the way I look at it. They won't just do the right thing, and this is what we talked about 6 months ago, and they just won't. I mean, they've been scattered around for the last 3 days. I haven't seen them before that. The Martelli trucks everywhere for the last 3 days. I haven't seen anybody for 6 months. So it's insulting that they're gonna come in here. And as a community, thank you, by the way, for everyone that showed up. This is a good community. We want this to be done correct. Us kids are all over the neighborhood, and that's all we're asking. Is just for this to be done correctly. And I think showing them a favor here is an insult to us. I really do. That's just the way I look at it. Thank you.
anybody else? State your name, please.
Hi, I'm,
No, it's okay, you can stand right there.
okay, hi. I'm Jackie Caviston. I'm actually in that very last house down on Arrowhead. We bought the house 2.5 years ago, and I was sort of told by the developer at the time, that by the time the first snow fell, that there would be a road. And we would have the town sewer and the town water, which we've been waiting for a hookup for. My husband's a police officer. He works very odd hours. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so he works extra those very odd hours, and I'm alone. down there with 2 kids all the time. We only have one 4-wheel drive vehicle, so it's basically off-roading for my husband's car. There's 2 basically Olympic-sized swimming pool holes across the street from my house. For public trash service, wouldn't come down. And when we do get the other trash service to come down, sometimes it's every other week, depending if they can actually make it down there. The U.S. Postal Service won't come down my road. I've been going to the post office to collect packages and everything for 2.5 years, which makes Christmas very tricky. So, I mean, the list goes on, but for the person who is way down there, basically alone, and God forbid, an emergency were to ever happen, you know, and I am down there alone, and emergency services can't come down. You know, it's just scary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I went up, did the back skip, I think I signed on.
State your name, please.
Hi, Bob Estrella, 13 Grizzly Drive. Something that has not come up in the meetings, I think when this development was first started, there were some wetlands issues. And I was wondering if anybody had done any additional research on that. I live at 13, and in back of my house, I know Blair, when he put that side of the road in, he put French drains all along there. If those French drains ever fail, my house is gonna float away. That hill in back of me, I can't even step on it. That's how wet it is, all the time. And, you know, I haven't heard of anything come up in our meetings regarding that issue, but it's really bad. And, you know, fortunately, right now, the French drains are working, and I can go in my backyard. But when we first got our house built, for the first year I was in the house, we couldn't even step in our backyard. I mean, it was nothing but a lake. So I don't know if anything needs to be looked at from that standpoint, or if that's just the way it is and the way the land is. Just curious.
Planning board?
As you're going down, who is it? Okay, as you're going down Grizzly, you're on the left-hand side
Yellow Ranch.
with the, okay. Well, we're neighbors. Okay. Literally, I live just down below
Oh, so the
you.
water's coming from you? No.
And I guess the only thing I can say is the hillside is just, it's a wet hillside. You know, during the springtime now, when I have a little pathway up into the woods from the back of my land, and for the next month, there will be literally a little stream just running down there. So it's a characteristic of the land.
Okay.
I do know that one of the things that they did in putting in the subdivision was all along, actually, the boundary of your lots and my land, they constructed a swale, about a 4-foot deep swale that has all been packed with rocks all the way down to help at least funnel off some of that water. It doesn't take care of all of it, obviously.
Through the chair, Skip, have you received anything from the Concom? Have they checked into your detention that hasn't been hooked up yet? It seems to me also, Mr. Grizzly had mentioned something about HOA, that all these people are supposed to be involved in paying towards taking care of that, and I don't think that wasn't in the list either.
I don't think we've had any response from Concom,
No response.
but we'll make a point to,
I think it'd be a good idea.
And as far as, okay, so there was something where DCR was actually involved. That was, I can't remember what that was. Is that some sort of a drainage, something
Yes.
or other? That was a DCR
Yeah.
issue, okay. We have not got, we haven't gotten any communication from DCR either.
anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Name, please.
April O'Brien, 14 Grizzly. I just want to know if they plan to take down all that black silk fabric that they use to line the wetlands. 'Cause
Eventually they should, yes.
Yeah, they had said it was going to come down 2 years after moving in, and I'm going on 6 years, and there's tons of it behind my house. It just kind of has fallen down. It looks kind of trashy. So, that's it.
Would you like to answer to that one? That one.
Okay, April, we actually just put some new stuff up back there, did you see that? We have to hook up the infiltrator now.
Before, okay.
So
Great.
that's, and part of the certificate of compliance that we have to apply for to the Concom, which is being applied for this week, they make you remove all that stuff. We
Okay.
had taken a lot of it out, but we didn't get it all done.
Perfect.
Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir, name and...
Yeah, Chris Grizzly, 18 Grizzly Drive. I'm just curious, if you're coming down Grizzly Drive, I'm the last house on the right before the empty lot, before the bridge. And I raised some concerns at the last meeting about the construction debris and the trash that was in the lot right next to mine. And the 6-foot weeds that were growing last summer. Is there any ordinance or anything that requires them to clean it or pick up the trash that's been there for years?
Actually, there's something in the subdivision rules and regulations about cleaning up debris, and I can't remember what section it was in. I was reading through this, I think it was maybe 5.
There's like giant concrete pipes. I moved in here in October 2014, and I won't let my kid go over there. I don't know. I don't want this. I don't want to turn this into an attack. But I'm just curious. Is there anything that can be done?
Answer to that one?
Yeah, just that one. We're actually going to be building a house there this year, so that debris will go. But those pipes are part of the infiltrator. I don't know who was speaking.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh,
Yep,
those
sorry.
pipes are part of that infiltrator where we have to hook it up. So they're actually going to be used right away, and we're going to be working on that area. That's where we have to hook everything up for the infiltrator. So I would say hopefully by summer, we'll have a house started and everything will be clean there. So that'll get clean.
Okay.
Sorry, Jessica O'Connor, 25 Grizzly, so I'm right across from that debris. So that's definite, there's a house going there.
Oh, yes.
Because we've heard rumors
There's
about
definitely a
it.
house. I'm going to put a spec house in.
A spec house, that's what we heard.
Yeah.
David Vanagier, 17 Grizzly Drive. This is something that I've heard for the last 3 years, so I'm very happy to hear it, but I've been told this for quite a while. So I don't know if Mr. Blair is willing to put anything on paper and say, yes, it's really something that's going to go in there by summer. Because again, I understood if it's not something that's regulated, but there's metal, there's not just concrete pipes, there's metal, there's everything. I keep my kids very far away from that lot, so I have a very deep concern. I spoke with Mr. Blair after, including his brother Bill Clare, exchanged some emails, very much priority. I'm sorry this happened. 6 months later, it's still there. So I don't really trust that statement in all honesty, but that's just my personal opinion.
We'll see.
Anybody else? So now that leaves us...
Can I answer a few of the questions?
I'll give you 5 minutes.
I don't, yeah. So,
Can he get up?
I got the answer.
Could I get you to go to the podium,
Oh,
please?
yeah.
Because your head is to the back of that ceiling camera and...
That's fine. So, the list of...
Introduce yourself, please.
Cleve
I know who
Blair
you are
from-
and everybody else
Cleve
does.
Blair
but
from Blair Builders.
People out on TV land.
So, I just want to say something about the list that we received from the planning board. The date of the list is February 12th. That's when we got our punch list. Now, all these things were talked about, and everybody, knows this and knows that, but until we get the punch list, we can't act on it. Now, on February 12th, there's 4 feet of frost in the ground, and not very much work could have been done until now. There's not, as extensive as the list might look, there's not a whole lot of work that should take more than, you say we have 15 days. I'm hoping that everything was going to be done this week. The guy was supposed to move in there today, he's moving in there tomorrow, hopefully, and going to clean up the rest of the stuff that needs to get done. As far as the road on Arrowhead, I did want to say, that's as far as the planning board will let us build there. there's a condition of approval on another subdivision that stops that road from being constructed until Brittenell Drive, Grizzly Drive is finished. So I can't really do anything over there except put a turnaround in and maybe clean up the road a little bit. But that's why there's no sewer to that house, because I can't bring it down. I don't know who was speaking about that. I can't bring it down there. So as soon as I can, I mean, I will. I hooked up the first house, but I couldn't get down as far as you guys, so I apologize for that, but I just couldn't get down that far. As far as sealing the cracks, I mean, that standard stuff, I can't believe that cracked after we just, we've been working up there since last May. It's not like we stopped towards the end of the year, but I mean, we milled all the pavement off there, we put new pavement down, and we, put new sidewalks, we cleaned everything. I mean, we've been working up there like forever. It's not like we're just starting now. And as far as the bridge goes, that's, as far as I know, on the bridge, that's all that's left is to put that shield on, and Norm pointed that out today. I didn't pick that up on the list. But all the other stuff that I'm aware of on Gil's list, I've completed. As far as I'm concerned, the bridge is done, when that shield's done. The infiltrator trench is not a lot of work. It was designed, the DCR told us you can't hook that up until the subdivision is complete. So we really couldn't, according to our variance, we couldn't hook it up until now. So that's why it isn't hooked up yet. But it's not, there's not a lot left. When we built it, we got it set up so that it would only take a day or two to hook it in. It's all done, and back at the time, the DCR got a letter from the design engineer, so I'll just have to get a copy of that and turn it into the planning board. As far as the bridge was inspected every inch of the way that it was built when it was done, and Mike Maroney designed it. The town approved it. The town had their own structural engineer review it, and it was done completely to spec. And he inspected every inch of the way, and he provided a letter as soon as it was complete that said it was built to plan. I'll just have to give you a copy of it, and that'll be the end of it. But other than that, I mean, there's not, the list was extensive, but as Norm pointed out, the majority of the items, probably 2/3 of them, were just a dot or I or cross a T on the plan. The other stuff on the ground, raise up a shut-off valve, or raise up a manhole cover, or connect this or connect that, that's kind of normal stuff that gets done most of the time. That's all I wanted to say.
I gotta say this to you. Okay, you said you got the notice in February?
February 12th.
Punch list.
Punch list? Well, maybe you should look back at your paperwork. It was November 15th.
Huh.
The town sent their
Oh, that-
punch list back in November.
This is the one that I have to go by. The
You
one
don't
from
have to go by the towns?
the review engineer. That's all part of it. But I don't know, what was on the town's list
Well, read
that I didn't do?
We can get you a copy of it, you can look at it.
I have it, I'm sure, but I think most of that stuff was completed. This is the new stuff that I was waiting for from Quinn. I got on February 12th, that's what I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Majority of this Quinn stuff isn't new. We've been looking at this for a while. With the exception of, as you state, the cross your T, dot your I items, which even I would have sat here and said in 2 weeks, in time for town meeting, I would think we'd be able to get that done. And you know what, Clea, we've been here before. I'm gonna say the same things that you hear me say because I just heard the same things that came out of your mouth. This project is still not ready for prime time because it's not just small punch list things. It's not just planting a few trees. Your drainage issues alone with stormwater, with those detention basins, with the discharge issues, that's more than 2 weeks' work all by itself. The bridge, I'm gonna disagree. Excuse me, I'll just finish. I'm gonna disagree with what you said. You basically just said that the minute you fix the guardrail, you believe that bridge to be finished. Well, our engineer is stating something very different and very serious. And to have accepted this bridge the way it currently stands with the issues that I'm reading in this 3-page report would be a dereliction of duty. All that aside, we all walked the property 6 months ago. And we saw a lot going on, a lot wrong 6 months ago. If you had even addressed the safety issues with the fire hydrants that we saw that were in the letter that we are referencing now that you don't remember and didn't count as important until you got this one from the engineers, to me that would have shown good faith on your part, because weather was not a factor when it came to those fire hydrants. And we have seen far too many house fires this season in our community and in surrounding communities to think that this isn't a serious issue. So I'm hearing about Arrowhead from the fire chief. I'm looking at, again, fire hydrant issues on report after report after report, and you didn't do it. So this project isn't ready. Again.
I want to ask you a question, Sheila. How many infiltrator trenches have you built? And how do you make a statement that you know that won't be done by then? How do you make that statement?
10 years of experience sitting here doing this with you.
That has no, you don't do planning board, you do select board.
Right.
All right? The planning board says it's ready. If they do, at town meeting, then it's ready. Those are the people that make the decision, not you. You decide whether or not it should be laid out or it should. All I'm asking, I'm standing here tonight and saying to you guys, look, give me the opportunity, and if the planning board says it's not ready, and if the DPW says it's not ready, then don't even bring it up. You can yank it, tell the town moderator not to even bring it up to a vote. That's fine by me. Give me the opportunity.
We have a timeline to follow. Here's the April 18th letter from the planning board. First sentence, the planning board does not recommend acceptance of the roads and appurtenances of the Bear Hill subdivision at this time. Now, what you're saying is, take a chance on us, put it on the warrant tonight, and on May 12th, pretty much everything will be ready, but you don't have to take action. But as you well know, and as everybody in the room knows, it doesn't have to go like that. We can recommend no action, but from the floor, someone, magically, could vote that down, and it will still go to the town floor.
Don't even bring it up.
You can't not bring it up.
Yes, you can. I do this in many towns. Last year in Holden, I had roads that the select board laid out. I don't even go to their meetings; they just lay them out. I mean, it's not an issue from a select board's point of view. It's the planning board. The planning board told them, don't bring it up. It didn't get brought up. The people from the subdivision wanted it. Everybody wanted it. They all sat there. Didn't even get brought up. So don't tell me it can't be done, because it was done to me already.
So you've got a room full of people who live in the subdivision that don't want it.
That
How do you
don't-
deal with that? They don't want these roads put on.
So they don't want the roads put on for what reason?
You're hearing.
What's the reason?
Safety.
No, honestly,
Safety.
So the roads are built, if the planning board says the roads are built to the way to the approval that was given to us, if they're built according to the approval, why aren't they safe?
Well, we can't access fire hydrants.
No, wait a minute.
I'm telling you,
One at
by
a time.
town meeting,
One at a
that's
time.
an easy fix. That's an easy fix, okay? And I don't know why Keith hasn't fixed them yet, but he hasn't. That one, he did move them back a little bit, but you can't get at the side. You can get at the front of it, but you can't get at the sides of it, at the fire hydrant. And there's the one at the end of Grizzly. But those are easy items to fix. It's not like they're gonna take more than half a day.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, one second. Skip, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Clee.
I'm done.
You're done. You got a young lady up in the back that raised her hand a half hour ago.
Hi, Angela
Hi,
Barahona.
your name, please?
Yep, Angela Barahona from 26 Grizzly Drive. In the nicest way possible, I can say this, it's very frustrating to continue to have Band-Aids put on a lot of these issues. I've worked with the Blairs, talked to the Blairs numerous times, and I really try to stay out of a lot of things. There's a lot of families in this room that have a lot of young children. There's a lot of safety concerns, and it's extremely frustrating to continue to have things have Band-Aids on things. And in the end, it ends up costing us money too. I've had damage to my property. They've come, they've tried to fix things, Band-Aid. Still have issues. We're down on the flat part of Grizzly. We have continued to have drainage issues. We have continued to have to put money onto our property, into our property. And it's very insulting to continue to say that these are easy fixes when they're actually costing us all money, or a lot of these homeowners money, to fix issues that are small, that are, we're being told, you know, I can fix this. And they do come out and put Band-Aids on things. I'm in a brand new home. I have a young family. This should not continuously be an issue, and it's not one home or another home. It is many, many homes in this development, and it's very insulting at this point. I don't even know why we're discussing potentially turning the roads over. Would we all like them turned over to the town? Absolutely, but I think all of these families in here that have very young children have a lot of safety concerns and are refusing Band-Aids. It's not right. It's not fair.
Thank you.
John Shivo, I'm at Grizzly Drive. I'm relatively new to the development. I just moved in 2015. The biggest concern that I see is the time. I'm not debating that the work can get done, but take example, repaving the roads. Half the road was milled, and then the equipment sat there for 3 weeks, and then the rest of it got milled, and then the sewer stayed up, and it was unpaved for 2.5 weeks, and then half the road got paved, then the other half. It took like 2 months or even longer maybe to get the road done. I'm not debating the fact that you can get the work done. I'm just saying in 2 weeks, I really doubt that would happen.
Thank you.
Last time. So it's kind of funny because I recall the last meeting that we had, and I think we had the exact same conversation, the exact same. And we basically said, well, we don't trust that it's going to be ready in time. And I can remember Mr. Blair saying, oh, no, I absolutely have it ready in time. So right now we're 6 months later, and it's still not done. So when we now ask to trust and say, okay, just can you please believe me that I'm going to be ready? I had a hard time believing it last time. Right now, all my faith is out of the door. And I really can't believe right now that 6 months later, we're wasting everybody's time over here. We want the road to be turned over. We really want the road to be turned over. But it sounds like only very small items have been done. I don't know. I feel a little sick because we're still sitting here. I'm still wasting my evening, spending time here, same as you do, and we're not even halfway down the list. So and my kids are still walking around there. So safety issues, everything. So. I don't know. I find it a little disgraceful that we're still here, still sitting here, having the exact same conversation, and not a lot has changed.
Okay, thank you. Is something new to this?
I do. I have two things that are fairly new. So I live at 28 Grizzly Drive, which is on the far end, the second house from the end, and it's my understanding that the original plan called for a turnaround at the cul-de-sac where the pump house is. I sent the board pictures of what that looks like today and the amount of debris there. So the gentleman who spoke before about the debris on one lot, I live on the far end, and it is complete, it's a dumping ground of construction debris. And that is, in my understanding, where a turnaround would be required to safely turn around. So that's one of the concerns that I have from a safety perspective. There's also a fire hydrant that is behind all of that debris. So as you can imagine, as this neighborhood has a lot of young people, you take your kids for a walk, you can't really turn around there. There's safety hazards there. The other point is the safety of the bridge and being non-ADA compliant. I mentioned that last time. Some of us do have disabled people in our homes. And we brought this up 6 months ago. Mr. Blair said, we'll fix it, and it's still not ADA compliant. The other piece that is new to the conversation tonight is the financial piece. So everybody here gets taxed fully. I assume that everybody's paying their taxes to the town. We want the town to take over the road, but not in the conditions, because it's my understanding that if the town were to accept the roads, we could all be assessed a betterment to bring the roads and the development up to par, so that would be something on top of our tax bill should that happen. So I would ask the board to consider that as well, because we are tax-paying citizens. We wouldn't want a betterment to take over something that a builder did not complete.
Through the chair, if I may, where did that come from? That doesn't sound accurate to me.
Where did that come from?
I believe a betterment, legal has advised that a betterment could be imposed for improvements required to improve properties.
That came from the planning board.
That came from the planning board? Okay, I just had not heard that before. I just new information.
Yep.
They do have a bond.
Hold on.
They do have a bond that, this money could be taken from. And I don't know the legal end of it, or how it happens, or how it works, But there is a bond out there that could be
Exercise, right,
exercised.
but not a betterment back to the citizens.
No, no,
It
it's
could be.
not.
Legal has advised that there could be betterments imposed for the deficiencies to improve those properties, yes.
But
And
why wouldn't
I'm
the
not
bond cover
saying
it
that.
first?
And the bond is another option.
No, but why wouldn't that be exercised first instead of going to the
Because the
homeowners?
1 in a 10,000 chance that you would choose to do an assessment is what you raise. But the reality of it is, this is a subdivision with a subdivision bond that guarantees the completion of the ways and the installation of municipal services. So is it possible that the town could do an assessment? Yes. Is it likely? Absolutely not. It is raising, the sky is falling, pandemonium saying, you're gonna get hit with this assessment because we have the power to do it. You'd have the power to do it everywhere.
And the town would have the power to also take the bond.
And that's what you should be telling to people, instead of saying, you
Very
can
cool.
assess, excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I may. Instead of
These are
saying,
options.
we could assess you, say that we have a bond.
I don't think we said that.
No, I know, but instead of raising that pandemonium tonight.
Right, well, that's why I wanted the clarification, because I don't want folks in the audience being scared that there is nothing to support anything that needs to be done. Through the chair, if I may, Norm, what's the number on the bond?
I believe the number is somewhere around $700,000.
Okay,
The town's sitting on.
so that's what the town has as a resource to cover any deficiencies that are not done. So, that's where the money is. Will it cover it? Norm, what's your guess? You're at the planning board, I don't have that experience.
Even at prevailing wage, I think $700,000 would probably cover most everything.
Okay.
What do you
I just
think?
don't,
Mr. Keller, what do you think?
Gary?
Excuse me?
Skip's asking, what do you think? Would 700,000, if the bond was enacted, cover all the deficiencies that are up there on those streets?
It would be tight, but
You busting? He's busting on it.
Again, I just don't want the wrong message to go out, or is the option, as Margaret stated? Yes, but there is first the bond that town holds to protect you for those deficiencies. Now, planning board's saying yes to cover it. Mr. Kelleher says it'd be tight, it'd be close, but ultimately, Mr. Blair needs to get those things squared away.
Now, can I just add to that? 1 second. The bond is established by the town of Rutland. Their review engineer puts a price on every item that needs to be finished on the roads. And I'll tell you that 90% of the stuff on that list is done. Most of it was top coat, and that's all done. So you're holding 700 grand. The fact of the matter is, it's not even close to that much money that it would take to finish those streets. Seriously, maybe 10 grand.
I'll reduce the bond.
10 grand. Then why not finish it?
I'm trying.
Come on, wait.
I did.
Really?
I'll tell you what, Sharon, you come up there and we do the work, and you tell me this morning. It's not even
I just wanted to
close.
make sure that folks in the audience understood that there is a bond, and not, thinking that we're coming first town after you for additional taxes or things of that nature, because there is a resource for recovery. And I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on that. So there are other avenues to protect the town as well as you as the taxpayer.
Go ahead, Jim.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
John Texera, 34 Clealand. Sorry, going back to the bond, when was this bond
Placed?
figured out? How many years ago?
May I answer?
I'd let Norm cover that one.
Because the materials and the labor, 10 years later, if it is 10 years, I'm not sure, right? You're gonna tell me, will change with time, right? So that's probably the concern why it's probably close. I'm not really sure how much we have left to do in terms of money, but if it's 10,000 that you're saying.
If you want Norm to answer, he can, but if you want me to just say it, the procedure is such that the town will not issue a building permit or an occupancy permit until a bond is in place to cover any road work that needs to be finished to bring the road to compliance. So at the time, and then after they establish that amount, we keep going back for bond reductions. So I think the last time they looked at it was probably a few years ago. No, do you remember? Was it like 11 or 12 when they looked at it? Quinn just did it.
It's gotta be
a
at
while
least
ago.
5 years.
5 years, yeah. Quinn just did it a little while ago. So it gets updated all the time.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I have an honest question, George. Honest to God, because you started out today, and I give you a lot of credit, saying straight out you knew that the development, the roads you were bringing forward weren't ready. You started right there. So, and maybe you can't answer this. I'm sitting here all the time because, let's face it, us, everybody in this room, we would much rather have this be easy than do what we've been doing. So what I'm wondering is, when we came here and we did this last fall before special, and it wasn't ready, we said it wasn't ready, it didn't go on, you still had the opportunity to finish it, even to turn around and say to us, see, we told you we could do it. But you didn't. And what we're hearing tonight is that 3 days ago, you started moving again because you had another deadline coming up. And you have an enormous amount of resources that you can marshal. We know you do. And yet, we're here again. The timeline is clear. Town meeting is 3 weeks away, and nothing's ready. It could have been ready. You could have brought it to us all done. Then we would not have had a room full of people. We would have had just Dick Williams, who's the only person that comes to our meetings. Do you know? So I sit here, and you know, you ask me how many of the things I do, I don't. But at 10 years we've been doing this, and I can't understand why we can't just have it ready.
Will you let me answer it?
I'll answer if you want me to.
Give you 2 minutes.
Well, she's asked the question. It took her more than 2 minutes to ask it.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. We're going round and round and round and round in circles. So we give you 2 minutes, just.
She asked a direct question or an indirect question, but I'll try to answer it as quickly as I can.
Rhetorical, but go ahead.
In November, October, we were here for the meetings, and what was missing, primarily missing at that time, was not so much the conditions on the ground, although they were also deficient. We didn't have a plan. We didn't have an as-built plan, and that was actually what scuttled any application because we hadn't had a plan in place. That plan was submitted in January and was reviewed by Quinn, and the Quinn report came in February 12th. That's what actually kicked into gear our ability to address the issues. So 60 of those issues are on the plan. Those have been addressed on paper. Those are just paper issues, or paper deficiencies, and those are being done by the draftsman engineer. The work in the ground that was noted by Quinn, requires work in the field. And we got the materials in February. And we didn't have snow all of January and February virtually. We had cold weather in those months, but we didn't have snow. By March, we were buried. And if you look at the Quinn report, you'll see that there are several items that need work on the ground. You have to dig up. You have the frost and you have the snow cover. So that wasn't available until just now. It's not until you get the thaw that you can go in there and tackle the issues that Quinn says we were deficient on. Not saying that we weren't deficient, but in order to work on that, we had to wait for the thaw. And that's where we are, and that's what we've been mobilized to. It doesn't mean we haven't done anything. We've done the plan work, the paperwork, we've met with the planning board, we've identified issues with the bridge, we've hired the parts for the bridge, we've done some of the installation that didn't require going into the ground. Those are work that we've done above the ground. Now it's time to do the stuff in the ground, and we can get that done. The stuff that we're talking about, Gary says is going to be tight, is raising gate valves, fixing cracked catch basin grates. Now that makes, admittedly, they're serious, but that's got to be done. But those can only be done at this time, and they will be done at this time. And we feel confident on that. So that's why it wasn't done between November and now. It's being done now.
Thank you, Mr. Kurtzy. Is this new to this?
It's
totally new, not a roundabout?
It's totally new
Okay.
or not, depending. In front of
your house is probably not in front of a fire hydrant that needs to be accessed. If that was the case, you'd probably be, it's too bad because some are little things. You just need to cut steel and make sure that, it's accessible for the hoses of the fireman to get to. In 6 months, you don't need that thought to be able to work on that. Sorry, and that would have,
So you're referring to make a cut for temporary access until it's
So
properly moved?
that's what they're gonna need to do on, right in front of 32 Clealand Circle, because they need to remove some of the railing.
You can still get in front of it. I mean, you can still access the fire hydrant. The fire hydrant, I'm gonna fix it.
So why is the issue then?
Why do you have 3 ports on it if you only need one?
We're looking for 2 weeks. All I need is 2 weeks, I'll have it all done. I'm telling you. But
We're good. Now it's gonna be up to this board here whether we place what they would like to do. Mr. Pantos.
Well, I guess we have all the residents here this evening. And are there any streets out of the list that was given that are anywhere, and I'll ask, maybe this should go to Norm as well as the residents, that you folks feel can be placed, or do you want us to move forward to approve them, or are they all totally interconnected that has to be done complete? I don't know it well enough. You folks live it day in and day out. I understand your safety concerns. I hear the safety concerns. But is there any part of this, because we're here because you've placed us here, and we want to do the right thing for everybody. And we also want this roads and items and the punch list taken care of so you can have productive lives and move forward.
I just have a question through the chair. Is that possible? We all bought into a developed plan. We didn't buy into individual streets. We bought into a plan of a development. I think that that's something for this board to consider out of the meeting tonight. The proposal was to accept the planned roads.
But that's a conversation for planning board.
I don't think
because they're the ones that control the work. They're the ones that oversee and have the authority on the town's behalf to take care of
For
that.
open meeting, I don't think that this is the proper forum to bring that up. I believe that that should be published in an open meeting, so people would have the time to do their research about a proper plan rather than discuss having different streets be. You're asking to break up the streets within a plan.
Well, the
right?
submissions, there, yes, I am. In case there are items that can move forward. I mean, that's why I'm asking the question. I'm looking for input.
I don't think it's proper parliamentary procedure to do that.
No, till everything's complete, no.
Right. So in fairness, in a development, you could absolutely accept pieces. You could.
Can I speak to that?
Please.
I live at 16 Cleveland Circle, and I don't believe it would be a logical decision, because in order to access one road that possibly could be up for a choice, you have to access Clealand. So a plow truck isn't gonna plow a non-plowed road to get to that road. So I feel like unless it was the very first circle, it wouldn't make sense until Cleveland was officially approved before Horizon could be approved. And that would be the only road, I think, in our entire division that would be able to go under. But I don't agree with you allowing for one road, because I think it opens an entire can of
That's why I asked the question.
Yes.
That's why I asked the question. That's why I was looking for that input.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the input.
Where do we want to go with this?
I mean, I think I've made my point clear. Skip's laughing at me. I would not be in favor of laying out the roadway tonight.
And I do know that.
Through the chair, Mr. Sullivan, I think, was flagging.
Just a quick question. The discussion earlier, Mike Sullivan, Crawford Road, and for those of you who don't know me, I was a past member of the planning board for 10 years. The question that was raised earlier about if it's on the warrant, can it be voted on, even if the recommendation of the boards is negative? Is there an answer to that?
Yes, they can. A
So-
motion can be, if we can say not to, sidestep it, a motion can be made from the floor, and, we have to accept it.
Okay. Well, again, I look at you folks up here volunteering, the planning board up here volunteering. Well, I mean, you guys get paid a ton of money, so you're not really. To think that you would allow the possibility of putting something on the warrant that could be voted on against the recommendation of what I've heard is the fire chief, planning board, perhaps select board, I'm not sure, and I don't know who else, is ludicrous. I mean, it's suicide. Why even entertain it?
That's kind of what I was gonna say, Mr. Sullivan.
All right, well, that's point number one. Point number two to me would be, I'm sitting listening to all of these safety concerns of these poor young families. If those are ongoing issues, why doesn't the town initiate pulling the bond, a portion of the bond, and completing those issues on their own if you can't get them done any other way? That's a rhetorical question. I'm not asking you for an answer. I'm just suggesting that may be, a possible solution. And lastly, as I look at all you people who I don't know, I'm most impressed that you came here as a group. I frankly expected, shame on me, that you were all gonna come here saying, vote for our roads, vote for our roads. And I was gonna be here as a taxpayer saying, wait a minute, you gotta understand what you're doing. So I'm most impressed that you came here as a group with a common purpose and have spoken loud and clear in my mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, Sheila's mate says no, and I gotta honestly say that from the planning board, fire department, even the highway department, saying, it shouldn't really be put on there, I think maybe, if you guys got together and got it all done this summer, you could put it on the fall. No?
Well, I think I can have it done in 2 weeks. I wouldn't be here. I
So
would have asked you to
let
put
me
it on
ask you,
if I
let me
did.
ask you one question.
Yeah.
You got it all done right now, all right? And it's set up for the fall, what is it gonna hurt? What is it gonna hurt?
It's not gonna hurt anything, Skip. It's just that it's time for it to go. And it's,
I know it's time for it to go.
It's time for it to go, and I'll tell you, it's been, and I don't know why everybody gave that big sigh. I don't know, what was that all about? Myra, you give me everything.
It's time for it to go.
It's time for it to go. I've been there for 10 years, it's finished. I've got just a minimal amount of work, and I haven't heard real huge safety concerns. I don't know, the road is built according to the plan. The plan was approved by the planning board, which Mike actually sat on at that time, and it's built to
But what
specs.
I'm trying to get at, if you got the work done right now, what would it hurt?
Well,
you can put it on the fall town meeting.
I agree with you, Skip, and I'm not arguing that point, but if I got the work done right now, can we agree that if you put it there and the planning board recommends against it, that it can get tabled, it gets pulled off?
I honestly cannot put it on the warrant, because from the audience, somebody can get up and override the decision of the boards.
No, I'm saying don't even have the moderator not even bring it up.
Yeah, but it's on this piece of paper that everybody votes on.
I've seen it happen. When you say you can't do it, I've seen it happen. So
You cannot do that.
Maybe that I should have yelled at the town Holden, but I couldn't. But
For the
anyways.
board's information, I know that town departments and the town departments that have, that have conducted reviews and will continue to conduct reviews for these things, they are prepared to recommend to the board in the future to not make layouts on contingencies, because they understand the risk to them as well, and to the town.
Norman.
Just a question, probably won't get an answer here. Does the moderator have the power to overlook a warrant article?
No,
And
not to my
We can find out legally, but I don't think so. It's there, it's there.
It's before we're a traditional government of the town, of the people's, one vote, one person. So, we the people, those that are there in attendance, are the ones that, have the knowledge. Oh, here we go. Well, we have our expert.
Not an expert, I'm just somebody who reads Peter Crane Nate's Way. According
Thanks, Peter.
to the town meeting bylaw as currently exists, articles in the warrant shall be acted upon in the order in which they appear unless otherwise determined by vote of the meeting.
Right.
Which means that you must have a vote to not act on an article.
Or to take it out of order.
Or to take it, there's also that, yes.
Right, because we have taken articles over the years that have been here out of order because of precedents
sure.
for folks from the school department that have attended or things of that nature. So we have done taken things
So that's an out of order, yes.
Right.
But again,
it requires
it's by action of the body present.
Correct, and it requires a majority vote if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
also correct.
So anyone who's been at a town meeting, whoever has presented the article will say, not even read it, they'll just say, motion for no action. And the moderator acknowledges that, and there's a quick vote of no action, meaning onward we go, we're moving on.
Yeah.
There have absolutely been times every single year when we talk about the budget, and it's not just about stuff like this, where you sit there and ask yourself, is it worth the risk? There's something we don't know yet. If we put it on the warrant, we are entrusting that the body will take our recommendation that night. It's always a risk. It's absolutely always a risk.
With everybody sitting here, you expect that to happen? No way. That would never happen. If they said no action, no action. But Skip, whatever you're gonna do is fine by me. That if you think that that's prudent. I think that I'd like the opportunity. That's all I'm asking. Give me the opportunity. I've never fought with the select board like I do here. Most towns put it on the warrant, and they leave it up to the planning board and the DPW and them to make the recommendation at town meeting, and that's when it happens. I feel pretty confident I can get the work done. If I don't get the work done, I'm not telling, don't take the streets. But there's $700,000 sitting there that tells you I'm gonna get the work done. So just give me the opportunity. That's all I ask. If I can't make it, I'll take it off myself. I mean it. But I also want is the opportunity.
You know, I can tell you clearly, we all want that road done. We all want it done, we all want the town to take it.
I think everybody in this room says
But it's
that.
not this board's decision to say whether it's ready, it's not ready. Our only decision is whether we should put the article in the warrant.
That's all I ask you to do.
But at the same time, we're here to represent the townspeople. Doesn't matter what, to a certain degree, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't. It's what the townspeople think. And if the townspeople want it on the warrant, we should put it on the warrant. If the townspeople don't want it on the warrant, then we shouldn't put it on the warrant.
I disagree with that,
And
to an
members,
extent.
if you took a vote right now in this room,
Yeah.
you know
that's
what? You would be voted down.
I
because
agree. But that's why I say, give me the opportunity and let the town boards who actually make the recommendations do their job. All you guys, it doesn't get on the warrant. I don't have the opportunity. Please, put it on the warrant, give me the opportunity. If they pull it, pull it. I got
We
it. And I won't
can't pull it
argue.
off. We can't pull it off.
Say no action, boom, move on.
But
You cannot guarantee that.
Oh my
You
God.
keep saying
With
it.
what's
over
going on in
and
this
over.
room, do you think I get, I'll guarantee it, Sheila.
I was in the
I'll
meeting.
guarantee it.
Okay, so I was at the
Okay,
meeting.
All right, sorry.
I was
Don't
at the
get it
meeting
done, have him double his
when this community
That's all.
voted on managed growth. And I will never take for granted the way I think a town will vote on anything. And for you to say that is disingenuous at best.
Disingenuous, what are you talking about?
Okay, I'm looking.
What's wrong going on in this room? I'll guarantee you that'll never come up for a vote if it's not ready.
Okay, now, I'm looking for a motion of some sorts to place or not place. That's as simple as it's gonna be.
Do you need a motion to not place?
Just for the record, I think it would be
Yes.
advisable.
Make a motion to delay the laying out of the roadway for Bear Hill as presented by the Law Office of George Kuritzy, representing Blair Development regarding Clealand Circle, Horizon Road, Grizzly Drive, and Bear Hill 2 subdivision, Street Arrowhead Drive.
Do I have a second?
I'm gonna have to second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Select Board.
Thank you for coming out.
The rest of the meeting's all the fun stuff.
What's the rest of the meeting about?
Would you like the agenda?
Please, sure, stay for the rest of the meeting.
Well, you're gonna stay? There you go, need a copy?
Isn't it one of those things where
Recess for a minute.
you're out already, so it doesn't matter anymore?
Just one.
Right?
Okay.
Let them know.
David, right? Good night, George.
Yes, I know this. I am in the same way.
Got the papers.
You did.
Yeah, if you want to stay for that.
So is there anybody here for public comment?
I think we had enough public comment for
No,
one.
I'm just asking, public comment.
I
It's
know,
the next thing on the agenda.
Oh,
Well-
Paul has, it looks like there's a public comment.
Yes, public comment, Paul.
Yes.
Come right in, sir. Get your name and where you come from and all that good stuff, please.
Paul Matson, Birchwood Road, Cable Access Committee. As some of you are aware, last Monday, this room was christened. We now have a watermark. And so, actually, I would like to take a minute to say thank you to the many departments who took part in helping clean up and get this room back in ship-shape order. And among those, we have the library staff of Kerry, Susan, and Aislinn. Aislinn, sorry about that. And Gary and the DPW and Bill from Building Inspection. These people, I just want to issue a public thank you for all their efforts and all their work to help get this room back in order for tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Never would have known.
We had a flood.
Yeah.
We had a flood.
Came in through that.
Was it the
All
restroom?
rain.
Oh.
We have Seth.
Oh, you want to go right to Glenwood Place? You want to move
Oh.
on to Glenwood Place?
Oh, okay. I thought we were starting back at the beginning. All right, let's go. Let's go to, where is Glenwood Place? I don't even see it.
Right below, it's the intent.
Oh, the intent to.
Yeah.
The board would vote its intent to lay out roads tonight.
To vote to intent to lay out Glenwood Road.
Glenwood Place.
No, I think we're looking for the department head inputs
Yeah.
on this, right? Yep. Mr.
We're looking
Keller.
at the fire department first to give
Okay.
us their intent. What do they think?
300 feet. Not gonna impact us at all.
How are you gonna turn your truck around?
Same way we turn around now.
You're gonna back out?
That's how we do it now on that road.
I'm asking you a question. You backing out or not?
Yes,
Are you
we are
going
back.
down the bottom and turning
No,
around
we're
and
not
coming
going to the
back?
bottom. We will not go to the bottom. We will back into someone's driveway and turn around.
Okay.
That works.
Planning board.
Norm,
Planning board, what are your,
recommendation?
You have our recommendation in front of you in the form of a letter. This one's brief enough, I'll read it.
Hey, Norm.
I hate to be read to. The planning board will not recommend acceptance of the 374 feet of Glenwood Place extension unless and until the following upgrades have been completed and inspected. Number one, a turnaround at the end of the extension large enough to accommodate all emergency and DPW vehicles is constructed. Number two, the extension and turnaround are graded and surfaced to the satisfaction of the DPW commissioner. And number three, the grading, drainage and grading along the side of the roadway is installed to the satisfaction of the DPW commissioner.
I guess it's Mr. Kelleher's there.
That's the number I talked about this already, so those are my comments, and that's all I have. 342 feet.
So you're saying no?
I'm saying this is what has to be done in order for you to approve the acceptance of the roadway. I have to have a successful turnaround. Folks have to remember that our trucks and our guys are going down there and blaming snow. I've got to be able to have these people turn around, as I feel fire does as well, but that's his call. And that's at least a 3 to 4 foot ditch on the right-hand side going down. If you get something that gets sidetracked that goes off of that, you're not gonna get them out easily. You're gonna roll them.
Is that something that's doable in the next 2 weeks?
Yes. Yes,
Asking a question.
absolutely. It's gonna,
This is just an intent.
This is the intent too.
Yeah.
This is just
This
intent.
is the
This
intent.
isn't,
But this all begs the question,
why?
why are we extending it 345
Well,
feet or whatever it is?
you really want me to get into the long story tonight? So, when we
The
went,
bridge version.
when we went to get approval from the planning board, the planning board said, listen, we don't know where the end of this public way is. Please find out. So we walked over and spoke to the town clerk, Anita. Julian did, not me. And apparently, at the time, she called Gary, and they had a conversation, and we understood, and I don't think Anita had all the information, and I hope I'm saying this right, because I was second party to it. So, we came up with a point on the road that at that meeting that we felt was the end of the way, the public way. So everything was designed to that. All of the estate lots were designed to that. All of the the special permits were approved for that, and the road was all designed to that point. Well, then when it came time to actually get building permits for the houses, and actually what brought it up was the guy for the phone company. The
Power company.
power company.
Oh,
So
the layouts of the poles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I called George. I said, George, how do we find this out? He says, Cleve, the town clerk has to know. So we went up and I spoke to, and I called for Anita and I got Lynn, and she went back and researched something and found that we actually were incorrect on the point that we had.
Anita was incorrect.
Anita, or the conjunction of everybody was incorrect to when we got to the point that we got to. But I've already made representations that the road goes that far, public. But it's actually from 1934 and I think 1940. She found stuff that only goes 4/10 of a mile from the intersection to there, which is absolutely correct.
Those are the
So-
state road lists,
so
going back to actually the 30s. I think we had one from the
I
late
know,
30s, yeah.
So we didn't have that at the time, and so, like I said, everything was designed to 320 or 340 feet down. So that's why we're here tonight, because I've already made representation that it goes to there, and I'm trying to get it. In the planning board thought, I think, if you could back me up on it, didn't we all think that it went to that point?
At the point when you submitted the plan, yes.
Yeah, so it was an honest.
So everything's approved from that point.
So it was an honest error, and, it was a conjunction of things. So we're just trying to make it right, and we've agreed to put in the turnaround, put in the drainage, fill in the side ditch, and it shouldn't take more than a day to do, really, and it'll be done. And I've spoken with the gentleman next door who owns the other side of the street. He signed the petition as well, because he had to. So it should be okay. I mean, that's what I'm hoping to do, is to get it so that where we had got it approved to at the time, out to there.
Norm, had it been right the first time, when the plan was initially brought to you, would that have changed anything that you did? Because obviously this was an approval not required project, right? Would it have changed it either way?
I don't believe it would have changed our decision in it.
Okay. It would still have
Yeah,
met.
the state lots, so
Hmm?
the layout on the state lots, it
still
it
wasn't
wasn't
private
public.
No. There's both regular and estate lots
Yeah.
on the private part.
That's right,
And it
you're
still
right.
is.
It still
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
For the board's information, we received this on April 12th, so it was after the deadline to submit requests for warrant articles. So, in a worst-case scenario, how bad, how detrimental would it be to wait to put this on fall town meeting as well?
I don't think it would be bad at all.
Okay, okay.
It wouldn't impact
No, I think
building permits or...
what turned us on to this is when we were building down there this year, and all of a sudden the town would leave this mountain of snow right at the end of Phil LaRoche's driveway. So we're, what the heck, why is it going to the end? And so, it's really the plowing that I'm concerned about more than anything. So if it goes on the fall town meeting, you know.
No, plowing is still not gonna get you to the foot of the hill, it's only gonna get you to the turnaround.
That's correct.
That's fine.
That's all I want, that's
We have
all
a
I want, I
homeowners-
want that in writing from
No, we
you
have a
guys.
homeowners association that
It says
does that.
It says
And
that,
had,
and it's
and
on
had
there.
we known that the private way was this much further up, we would have included those lots in the association. So we've done an association downwards, but we've already gotten that approved and blessed, and these lots that were originally believed to be in the public way section is in the private way section. We move the public way down, and then at that point, we catch it all up.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to,
Not do anything with it.
huh?
He said he
Why
doesn't-
shouldn't we
he
move
doesn't
forward
mind.
with it for the fall? Let's,
Oh, okay, for the fall.
yeah, so we start the process to, please, to formal requests.
So you can
to-
vote your intent tonight.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. That we lay out the way for Glenwood Place,
For fall town meeting.
for fall town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
So this is an intention.
Yes,
That's
you
your
voted
layout.
your intention.
Intention
Yep.
to lay out.
Yep.
Yep.
At your next meeting, you could actually vote a layout, and then at fall town meeting, you'd be ready to have it placed if these three simple things are completed.
Okay.
You guys are definitely having a fall town meeting, right?
Always.
A few towns it's been no fall town meeting. Ah!
You can't afford not to.
We don't have any choice.
Right.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the vote.
Oh,
You vote the vote.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't take a vote. We did not take a vote. You didn't ask for one.
So this is on the intention to lay out the way.
Can't say.
Right,
Aye.
now.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night, folks.
Good night.
Thanks for taking it.
I really did. Go back to the front page again. Seth Knight, fire chief, please.
Good evening, Seth Knight, Fire Chief. I'm here for our update on the fire department. This will be our first quarter, just finishing the end of March. Just give you kind of a brief overview of what's been going on in the last 3 months. For once, I can report our call volume is actually down.
Wow.
So we did some research into what's going on and what's causing this. Pretty much, we are doing less mutual aid calls to other communities. As far as ambulance, the town of Barry has properly staffed their ambulance, so we're not responding to Barry as much. So that's cut down on our calls. Once you cut that out, the call volume in town is actually increasing, but the call volume out of town is decreased that significantly. The other thing this year was due to the lack of snow in January and February and into early March, we had very low motor vehicle accidents due to weather related events.
That's good news.
Yeah.
So
Not for the body shops, though.
Yeah.
Not for ambulance receipts.
But the type of calls that we've been seeing in town, the severity and intensity of some of these type of calls are increasing. So the increasing use of staffing. We had a head-on motor vehicle accident last week on Main Street that required the use of the jaws of life. Numerous fires, as Sheila had mentioned. So we've been very busy in that aspect. As earlier, the Spartan Race was brought up. Spartan Race is actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. We've been contacted, similar to last year. The town of Paxton and Rutland have been hired as a providing ambulance service to this. They are paying a detailed rate to both communities for that event. So we'll be double staffed for that weekend, and they pay all that. Last year, out of the I think it was 5,500 participants. We only transported 6 people. And just put that in perspective, it seems like a lot of people, low increase of activity. They do hire a medical company that comes in. They do have triage tents and stuff like that. So a lot of the walking wounded just get bandaged up and they get sent home. But severity of the calls will get transported by us. In September, Treasure Valley has Sober in the Sun. With less than 1,200 people, we probably do 50 ambulance calls that weekend.
Wow.
So just kind of put it in perspective. So it's very well run event. Other than the parking being new to us this year, we shouldn't see any significant changes as we have in the last year. As far as equipment, I think back in January, I updated you that our repairs and maintenance of apparatus have been very severe this year. Just giving an example, to date, we've expended $28,000 in vehicle maintenance. We only budget for $9,000. So other funds were taken from other line items to cover the overages in those accounts. I don't know if anyone's seen it last week or so. The new pickup truck that was voted at the special town meeting has arrived. It was
I
parked
heard
out
Gary
front.
wants to plow. Looks sharp. Right, Gary?
Yeah, it's pretty, it's shiny.
We did have a chance to actually plow one swap the other day and put it away, so we could say we at least plowed with it this year. So that's pretty much it on equipment. Staff, we are fully staffed with full-time staff. Our third person during the day, Monday through Friday, has worked out very well. For example, a couple weeks ago, we had the fire on Bond Road. The ambulance was transporting to UMass. That just left the one other full-timer and myself to respond to that initially. So that was a benefit to us. We are conducting, I finally finished writing 50 performance reviews for all staff in the fire department.
Congratulations. That's a big task.
That was the easy part. Now I got to meet with all 50 of them. So that's in the process of getting that all done. We've been meeting every month with the officers, every month consecutively. We have now conducted a quarterly full-timers meeting, so all the full-time staff are now meeting with me every 3 months. The fire department training is intense, ongoing. We're in the process of acquiring another building to burn this fall. More details to come on that once we get some further approval from DEP. Fire prevention, we've been working very hard in the schools with fire prevention activities. We'll be having the safe trailer come out in May to Naquag for the young kids to go through the house and smoke environment to learn how to escape, crawl lower into smoke. That will be coming very shortly. We've been meeting with the Wachusett district on a large-scale event in June at the high school. A tabletop exercise was done a couple weeks ago to try to outline a plan of all partners of what our roles and responsibilities are. So the full-scale drill will be done, I think it's the last Friday of once the kids get out of school that Friday, following Friday. Thursday, I think it's Thursday because Friday is the golf tournament for the schools. Other than that, grants, we have been recipient of the SAFE grant for next year and our senior SAFE grant, so we can continue our efforts in the school system this fall. We've just been notified that we've been awarded the DCR grant for rural firefighting within the town. That should be coming, award letter should be coming very shortly. Tonight I'm coming forward tonight for your support on 2015, the board voted a letter in support of a SAFER grant for to apply to a federal grant for staffing. It's a 3-year commitment. Federal government pays 75% of both wages and benefits for the first 2 years and 35% on the third year. The total of the grant is $518,000. I think you should have a letter if you so inclined to vote. The grant has already been written. I just need the letter of support to continue the process. The grant would not be awarded till late fall or January of next year.
Do you just need the chair to sign, or
Yes.
do you need?
Yeah, you signed it as chair the last time, so only if you vote, the chair can sign.
So the town has the 1-year commitment following the initial 2 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you don't foresee any problem paying this young man, this person for our years, 4 years down the road?
Well, just to put that in perspective, Skip. In 2001, at an October town meeting, the town voted a staffing level for the fire department of 9 full-time staff in 2001, after an extensive study was done. Right now, we're only at 7 full-time staff.
Right.
Our call volume has increased 80% since then, with pretty much the same level of staffing. We're hoping that as the town grows with the new developments that are coming in, that we'll be able to maintain the staffing level.
And with economic development, just had to chime in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the chair, if I may, town administrator's recommendation on this, for the record.
I recommend support of this grant.
With that being said, I'll make a motion that we support the fire chief and authorize the chair to sign the grant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just an update on the FY18 budget as we end up rounding out the end of the year here. As I brought up earlier, we had some repair costs that exceeded some of the line items. We're looking to do a municipal reserve transfer starting May 1st. I do have excess money in wages that I'll be able to transfer within my own budget to cover some of these, so you'll start seeing these coming forward in the coming weeks. FY19, I met with CIPC on equipment needs for the department and our priorities. You should have seen them in your enclosed budget packet that was submitted to you guys back in January. Budget funding priorities for next year obviously is maintenance of equipment for us. As far as the, I'm in charge of the public safety building budget this year. At the fall town meeting, some line items were reduced within the operating of the public safety building. Well, we all thought that the solar project would net a much greater reduction. It has not. It has done some, but we've also seen increase or issues with National Grid as far as our electric bill. Give you an example, our electric bill averages about $2,300 a month. Last month it was $5,800.
Wow.
We can't figure out why. National Grid came out last week, pulled the meter, tested the meter. I talked to Kevin Shaughnessy, our rep. They're actually going to come out and actually put special monitors on
to see where the
lines,
draw
to
is.
see where the draws are going and see if there's a certain spike in time. So they think we're bleeding electricity into the ground somewhere. So we're
That's
trying to track
possible.
that. But unfortunately, from the meter to the building is all us. So we have to try to find and track that down. So we're in the process
Gotcha.
of dealing with that. So they're obviously, with a bill like that, very interesting. This month's bill just came in at $1,100.
Same thing happened 6 months ago.
so
Same thing happened
it's-
6 months ago. It's
Something's
very
going
odd.
on, and
Yeah.
we can't really pinpoint what the issue is.
Huh. Interesting.
But it is a working in progress. So whether we do some line item transfers to cover some of the shortfalls in that budget, or I go for a reserve fund transfer, just to keep you guys all aware.
Yeah.
We are working on cleaning out the building. The building is full of excess items,
Antiques?
trash, things that need to be thrown away years and years ago. We will be working on that in the coming months. A lot of it will go to the recycling center.
Thank you.
No problem, Sheila. So we'll be working on that to try to clean that stuff up and keep everything moving. So that's all I got.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I got one for you.
Yeah, and I'd like a minute after you, sir.
And I'm after you.
You're first.
Okay.
Let's line them up tonight.
You're aware of what's on the warrant for fire and fire trucks and
Yes.
ambulances and all that?
Yes.
I would like you to talk to the people that's out there on that camera and ask them for their support to do this.
So as you know, the capital planning committee had put two items forward for the fire department. One is to replace our 2008 ambulance, which is our backup. Estimated replacement cost is about $265,000. The truck will last 10 years. The current truck that we have now is a 2013. It was purchased in 14.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, that truck is just our primary truck. The newest truck is pushing almost 100,000 miles. The idea is to get them into a rotation of every 5 years. So if a new one arrives next January or February, the current one now will come back as a spare. Over the last 5 years, we've been trending, since we've gone to 2 ambulances, that the increase in ambulance revenue is directly related to not only increase in call volume, but our ability to answer the second emergency. The second ambulance right now this year has generated over $100,000 just with operating 2 ambulances. So that money is coming into the town. So that's where we are with that. As we did last year, we applied for a grant for money. That's the one that is grant funded. It was voted at town meeting. That's what we bought the UTV last year. We've applied for the similar grant this year to place the chief's vehicle. And again, it's fully grant funded. And it was voted the same way as last year, the same grant. So that's why it appears on the article the way it is. So, again, there's no cost to the town.
Great.
So what do you figure the ambulance, if everything flies nicely, what's the used ambulance worth? And how long is it gonna take to get the replacement if everything goes good?
So right now, if we had Maytown meeting, everything was voted, it would take a minimum of 180 days to build a new ambulance, so 6 months. So if you really
Customized.
yeah, so it's about a half a year for it to come in. That means we have to keep the other truck running for that period of time. My guess, the estimated trade-in value is between $5,000 and $8,000. Be a great sewer water truck.
No, we can't retain any more vehicles.
Those vehicles either get bought up by a plumbing outfit or some type of service vehicle.
Yeah.
That's what they get reused as.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael?
Quick question for you. I recently attended an NFPA informational meeting, and one of the subjects that came up was carbon monoxide detection in school systems.
Yep.
In our schools in our town, do we have any detectors? If I remember correctly, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that there was something in the boiler rooms, but nowhere else within those buildings. Am I correct on that assumption?
To my knowledge, at the time of the buildings were built, they were non-required. To my knowledge, there were no CO detection.
Even on Glenwood?
Even on Glenwood,
Okay.
to my knowledge.
I know there's a push statewide
Yes.
to upgrade systems and things of that nature. Would that be something that you could look in as a grant for our schools of some sort? Or is that the DPW project?
Certainly, we can look into it. The school maintains the system through
Understood.
Simplex, and they have contract with Simplex. So for us to...
But we own the buildings, though.
I understand that, but their contract signed with the school district. So they have care and custody of that.
Okay. With that being said, that's a very valid point. Through the chair, if I may, can I request the town administrator contact the school department and see what, if any, considerations are, or any plans that they may have in the short or near future where we can get CO detection within our schools? Sure.
Okay.
Can I ask a question
Absolutely.
As a recommendation. Is there a way that they could just get the traditional home plug-in?
No.
for each
No,
classroom?
no. You gotta be commercial.
Because it's a commercial system, it has to be a... Now, this is a system that can be easily retrofitted.
Right.
And basically, it's just like your regular house, your smoke detector comes out and a combination detector goes in.
I've got hard wires at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not a major undertaking. It's just a location and how many units would have to be installed.
Yeah.
And could it come from, instead of a grant or something like that, could there be fundraisers at the schools?
Sure.
for it to
Sure.
happen?
Sure.
I mean, I feel like parents would be willing to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But it is our responsibility, and we want to make sure that our schools now are, with all the things that we're learning time and time again, we provide that level of safety.
Yeah, I'm surprised the state hasn't come out with a mandate to upgrade systems.
I know.
Well, they don't have the money, because if they come up with the system,
They
the
gotta
mandate,
pay
they're gonna have to come
Well,
up with
they have
cash.
ways around that, you know, we all know that.
Yeah, I know, but it's making it a local mandate, as usual. But, that being said, it was a topic that was
Yep.
brought up at a recent NFPA meeting in Boston that I attended, so
Okay.
thank you for the insight.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
And I just have a quick public safety comment because you reminded me of this, and knowing the chief is here, I'm sure everyone knows that there was a coyote incident in town last week. And just a word of caution, do not approach coyotes if you see something strange. I guess I'd say please call the police department, please call dispatch. And also,
Bears.
Bear have awakened. It is spring. Bear have awakened. Please remove your bird feeders, shut your garage doors, don't leave trash
feeding.
exposed, and just use all precautions. Anita was very kind to put links to mass.gov, kind of precautionary instructions on our Facebook page, so take a look at those. But
And you might want to carry a flashlight if you go out after dark.
you might want to carry a flashlight, too.
and a knife.
Yeah.
What's that?
Anyway,
Yep,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelleher. Would you like to talk to us at all?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I know you don't want to, but, you know.
I didn't hear you, sorry. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna go over anything from Rutland Heights, because pretty much what Mike Sullivan brought to your attention is what I was gonna bring up, so. But we do have on June 29th, the 3rd annual bonfire coming up, scheduled for the Heights Hospital at the bonfire site, sponsored by the Girl Scouts. Fire and police certainly chip in and help the DPW to get that place set up with lighting and personnel and so on and so forth. So I don't see any issues with that, and I don't know if any of you guys do, but.
Did you say June 23rd?
June 29th.
29th, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
been,
4th of July
Dry
activities.
season. I get it, okay.
The pile is already there, the pyramid of wood is already there, so, and we bring up generators and have fire personnel to douse the flames when it's done, or the embers, and police for control, safety control up there. So if there's no issues, I'm just gonna move forward with that like it has been. Okay? Okay. And also, I think several meetings ago, I gave you a proposal from Weston and Sampson for a water sewer rate study. So I think it's very important, I don't know if you've got a chance to read those over now, but it's very important that we move on this so we can get our rates structured accordingly with what we need for the town.
What do you need it for, Gary?
Well, the sooner the better. Mine is, it's dated in February, and we do have to get it started.
So if
My
we get
plan
to
is
by
for
next
the bulk of
meeting?
that, because the sewer rates are based on water draw, water usage, to take the bulk of that from water-free cash to support that, to pay for
We
that.
can put it on the agenda for
May 7th.
2 weeks, May 7th.
I can.
Okay, that'd work.
All right.
So you can vote on it
Yeah.
at that time? Okay.
So Gary, this is the one you sent to us on March 26th, water and sewer rate study
Yeah.
proposal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, March 26th.
It's a 5 or 6 page document. I have it here, but I think everybody has it. If
Yeah, you
not, if you
emailed it
haven't-
to us.
Yeah. So nobody needs it. You all have it now.
Right.
Okay.
Just needs review and placed on the agenda.
Okay. And tomorrow is the sanitary sewer rehab bid opening. That article was passed for at last town meeting. Weston and Sampson will be there for the bid opening to start construction on phase 1 of the 5-year plan for I&I. Just to let you know, I don't know what the price is gonna come in at, but the article was put in for $325,000, which also was funded out of sewer free cash.
So what time is this opening?
11 o'clock tomorrow at the DPW. Okay? And the last thing I have is the permit that we talked about, an RCC permit, which means recycling, composting, or conversion operation permit. Excuse me. That is for the pile of debris that I have behind the DPW, estimated to be approximately 1,000 cubic yards. What I want to have done to that is have it pulverized and used it for the parking lot to be built in the site of the primary building, the primary school building. Now, as all of you are aware, Lighthouse Environmental was going to give us some community service to sponsor some of the equipment to be used. However, we have an issue with that because if we go through with the RCC permitting process, it's going to cost the town approximately $15,000 to complete that permitting process. So I can't see using LEM, honestly, Margaret, to take part in that operation. I'd like to just have that, as I've talked to you about before, have the monies moved from the primary demolition article into just to change the wording, which is allowed for anyway, up to including finished landscape, and hopefully just move on and let us do it.
But aren't we going to require some kind of permitting anyway?
You know what, I think because DEP got involved with LEM, I think that's why the permitting has to be put in place. I don't know how that happened, Mike, I don't know
Right,
too much
but-
about
So-
it,
But for due diligence and to ensure the town does not end up with a quote-unquote brownfield or something of that issue. Don't we need some kind of due diligence on our part to ensure that DEP will accept what we put in the
Yes.
hull?
Yes, and I will not just try to sneakily put that through.
No, that's not
gonna
what I
be
mean. I
properly,
mean,
but-
I'm just looking at what we have
Yep.
to do for due diligence
Yep.
as we want to get that hole filled and expand upon.
Yep.
But there's a due diligence process that I would think that we would need to, no matter who does it or how it's done, that we'd have to go through the process.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, because there's several thousands of dollars permits required also by DEP. But because we're a municipality, they will waive those permits.
Awesome.
So we can get that part of it done.
Great.
So how much will the permits cost then for the municipality?
The permits themselves from DEP, there'll be no cost. They'll be
Okay, so
waived.
those are
It's
waived.
the cost of engineering to do exactly the percentages and averages of what the material is in the pile. It's gonna cost the money.
Okay.
So LEM, they were going to do this in lieu of paying the fine to DEP,
Right.
so that's just going to be rescinded and they're gonna pay the fine to DEP.
Well, unless the board and you decide that you wanna move forward on this, but
We've got
They're gonna be waiting a while, that's the
$15,000.
thing.
It's gonna take a long
I
time
don't
for the
think we have
permitting process.
15,000 for permits, do we?
Okay, but where does the money go if they just give a check to DEP?
I-
Stays
General
with
fund.
DEP.
Yeah,
I-
DEP, general fund.
Okay, we need, so
General fund.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in seeing the LEM money go outside the town. The whole point of this was that
Okay.
it disrupted the town, which I totally hear what you're saying. There's gotta be another project.
Seth has
Yeah.
a question.
Seth might have an idea.
Seth has an idea.
There we go.
Can't raise it high enough.
They can take the money, they can put it in the fire fund.
They could. That's another option. And I know DEP would be open, they did say they'd be open to other options.
Oh, they did. There's a lot about it. That's
Yep.
the only one we could come up with it at the time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
no doubt
we
about
can
it.
talk to Mark Baldy and see if they could,
Sure.
So
see if
where would
they,
this fire pond be put?
Bless you.
bless you. Just identify the priority locations and, yeah.
We just had one too, but we let the beaver dam go.
That was roadside, that was nice.
Okay. But yeah, that's fine. Anything we can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the.
Sure, keep the
what
money in
board's saying.
town.
Yeah. Yep.
Work, I should say.
But anyway, we still have to pursue that to see what we can do with our pile. And that's all I have. Does anybody have anything for me?
I do.
Whoops.
Got a couple things, actually. Does the town, and I should know this tonight, but I don't, have a designated sewer and water district? And I don't mean the whole town. I mean, is there, in any of your paperwork or archives, is there anything that designates the town's water and sewer district?
Officially?
Officially, on paper, that I could say to you, no, you can't build a house there because you're not on it.
No, they
Even
don't.
though you're a quarter mile down the
No,
road.
we don't. No, we don't.
We don't have.
No, we don't.
I think it's time we should look into it. The other question I have, and I just thoughts only, you're retiring in December?
I am.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And
I didn't say that with a question mark. I said I am.
I know it. And I would like the board and everybody else to consider maybe this is the time to establish a water and sewer commission.
Or at least investigate.
And investigate it of some degree. Because, and you're gonna get mad at me, and I don't care.
Oh,
There is
really?
nobody gonna come in and do what you've been
Oh,
doing.
no bullshit. No, I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't say that.
Oh, bleep.
No, you're wrong, sir. You're wrong. I'm replaceable.
If we divide this, then we should have no problem finding somebody, but if
Other-
we try
no,
to
and
one person doing
You'll
it
have
all,
no
Gary,
problem
no.
replacing me. The problem you'll have with the Water and Sewer Commission is the cost of the said Water and Sewer
Well,
Commission.
that's what the people on water and sewer gotta know, because we have complaint from people saying, we ain't doing something right. Well, hey,
We need to do a realistic feasibility study and actually some sort of transition study, if you want to call it, or impact study,
Right.
to see what it's going to look like to switch to a water and sewer commission. You know, you're talking real property and
Right.
buildings and
Right.
infrastructure and
Yes.
and personnel, and so,
Well, you also want
And
our
districts, Margaret, it's
future-
very important, I think, for the town to start setting up the boundaries for districts.
Well,
yes,
this is-
absolutely.
Very important.
Yeah, and you want the DPW to focus on DPW. The town is growing. The roads are increasing, as you've stated time and time again.
Absolutely.
The focus has to be on that. You can't have two masters.
Right.
No.
So, do you have, well, if you could start thinking about consultants who have expertise, you know, in guiding municipalities through these types of studies.
Wouldn't Central Mass be our
I'm thinking of Central Mass, but I was also thinking RCAP Solutions might be an option, or,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was figuring. Trish would be able to lead us in the right.
Because you asked me to.
Yeah, yeah. Any response? Okay, great. Super.
There's
Like
resources
Gary
available.
just said, we gotta do a district first. We gotta have district
Well-
1,
Yeah.
2, and 3, and that's,
But
So-
that should be part of that master plan, as Margaret said, is, that's districting
even,
should be
even
part
if
of
we
it.
don't go to a water sewer commission, we gotta have some districts.
I agree with you.
we're
Right.
gonna need to know
You're
how
right.
far out the
Yeah.
permitting has gone with
Right now?
ties, yes.
You need mapping.
Definitely. Mapping is definitely something desperately needed as well.
I agree. That's all I got, so what, you all done? I guess I'm mad at
I'm
you.
asking you for help. And I know you don't have anything to do all day long.
What do you want me, what do you need, Skipper?
Beware of coyotes, bear.
Oh, train my, okay. Sure.
Okay.
Oh, we can certainly talk, Skip, the town of Rutland is not historically has not had
Oh, shoot.
any kind of process for transition. Everybody comes in here and is green, as far as the town goes. I support that. I will certainly help. If the town wants me to, I'm happy to, and if they don't want me to, I understand that too. But I think it's not a question of, certainly different departments, staffing, because I really do think they're all great. It's just a question of getting to learn the town and the infrastructure of the town and how the town operates and what has to be done. And those are just my ideas and opinions. Doesn't mean they're right. Certainly doesn't mean they're right. But to have somebody, this job, when I came into it, I didn't have anybody to really lean on. I had the staff, which has really turned out to be the best staff ever. But as far as going out and learning how, the rest of a municipality, how it works, it was kind of just get it done. And I've learned a lot in the town of Rutland, so I am here to help if I can. And I understand if I'm not given the opportunity to help.
I think in an ideal situation, Gary, the existing DPW superintendent or the retiring one would be on to help the new person transition at
course.
least for a period of time.
I'd
I mean,
say
you
at
have
least
so
30
many.
days.
Yeah, you have so many moving
You're
parts.
talking the middle of the winter time when he leaves December.
Well, I know, he wants to come back and plow, though.
Yeah.
Oh, you can take the truck home.
Very,
Exactly.
Very, very.
Well, he wants Seth's new blade and pickup, right?
No, that's not the worst idea. That would make you a seasonal employee, and your job would be storms, snow. Just gonna put that out there.
And you'll get more gray hair.
It's almost full now.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you, sir.
that it?
Yes.
Anybody need me for anything else here tonight? Well, we good.
I think you're
Yeah,
good.
I think you should stick around
You want me to
until the
stick
very
around?
end.
Really?
No, see you later.
Good night.
Good night.
What's next?
Can I have a motion? Historical, resignation from RDIC for Mark O'Clair.
A motion to accept the resignation of Mark O'Clair from the RDIC effective April 30th, 2018.
Second, with
All those in-
regrets.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
We have anybody to talk about the Boston?
Yes, Anita's here.
Oh, Anita. Come on up.
Did we skip over public open session?
Yes,
No.
in the end.
Okay.
Oh, public
No,
comment was
we
earlier.
had public
We had
comment.
public comment.
No.
Yeah, we
You
did.
heard it.
No,
Heard it.
there's people here for that.
We did have it, but
Where?
There's two,
Richard.
Mr. Johnson's here.
Oh, we had, okay, we can go back to it, but we did have it.
We did.
I
We
thought-
did, Michael. I
Really?
mean, yeah,
Okay.
we really did.
I didn't hear it. I saw the general
Somebody
public,
spoke. Who, I don't know who spoke. Somebody spoke. Anyway, speak or
go
maybe
ahead,
I'm
it's
wrong.
Anita's time.
Paul Mattson
Well, I didn't
spoke
know
it.
it was my time, but.
Okay, you're up.
I guess-
Sorry.
I guess what you received a letter from the Historical Society asking if you would approve of a project so that they could build a display case and have it in Community Hall. And so that the cane could be in there, and then they wanted to do a plaque of the people that have been awarded the cane over the years. So, and I don't know if you know, last week they asked me to go to the Historical Society because they had 2 duplicate canes made, and I presented it to Mr. Meager, and it was really a nice ceremony. They did a good job, and the gentleman that's the next oldest to him also came to the Historical Society. So I haven't talked to Gary. I don't know if what they're thinking about for the display case and where it would go, but there's pretty much only one wall in Community Hall that would work. But
Anita, those are the 2 duplicates ones that we made up at Paypath?
that the Historical Society, I believe that's where
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
got
we
them.
did.
They did. They
Yeah,
came
we
out
did.
beautifully.
They are really
If we
nice
need more, we
looking.
can
Yeah.
do more.
We awarded one to Vivian Root last September.
Nice.
And she passed away, and the family is keeping the cane for now, so that the Historical Society said that they would, be willing to make more. So,
Okay.
but it would be nice to have the original displayed. A lot of communities have lost their original one. So.
Well, I remember when we started that project for the duplicate,
Long-
you had
long
it in the
time
vault.
ago, yeah.
You had it in the vault sitting in
It's
the back of
still
our
there.
office.
It's still in the vault, so, but it
So-
would be nice.
Especially with next year being 100th anniversary. 100, no,
of-
no,
110.
110.
No.
My math.
I think he awarded them in 1909, the
Right.
editor. And,
Sorry.
but
Not
then
that
it
big
took
an
until 1930 before they decided that a woman could be the recipient. So,
Huh,
so.
times have changed.
And I wanted to, if you give your approval for the Historical Society to go forward, I wanted to talk to them because we have an original jury box in my office and one of our old seal from like 1890 something. So it would be nice to be able to display both of those too. So that's it. And just a little public service comment. Absentee ballots are in. They're going to be available starting tomorrow. So. For the election. So if anyone's going to be away, just have to come into our office, and they are available until the Thursday prior to the election at noontime.
Great.
all right, thank you.
So, good.
You know what I just realized? Sorry. After she just said that, we were talking about the Spartan Race and how it all shouldn't be a problem, and it's town meeting.
Yeah, but
It
it's
is
on the
town
other
meeting
side of-
night too, yes.
But it's on the other side of town.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on that side of town.
It's on that side of town. We're going to be over at Glenwood, you know?
Right.
We'll be fine.
So does
Okay.
somebody want to make a motion to allow this to happen?
I'll make a motion to give permission to the Rutland Historical Society to create a display case in the community hall to display the Boston cane as well as the items that Anita was talking about. I would have one request. I don't know if we want to add it to the motion. Can we see the design before the location before they start?
I'm sure they'd be willing to do that.
I'll second that.
Location approved by the
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Highway
Yeah,
superintendent.
Yep. Yep.
second.
Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're gonna go back to public comment, but Paul Mattson spoke at public comment. Did you remember that, Richard?
I remember he spoke, but I didn't hear
I
it.
remember him speaking, but I didn't remember.
Yeah,
he
that was public
I'm with you,
comment.
Dick. I didn't hear it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go back on film, we'll find it.
What the other?
Public comment.
Mr. Johnson.
Anybody here for public comment?
Mr. Johnson.
Please state your name and where you live, sir.
George Johnson, 14 Glenwood Road, owner of a small farm, probably the last one. Hey, listen, I took a ride around last weekend with the wife. A lot of houses being built in town.
No.
Now,
Use flash.
now down the foot of the hill by Shawnick, I think they're moving in there. They started moving in, unless I'm mistaken. And as being in the water service for years, concerned about all the pipes being tested and chlorine tested. The water pipes need pressure and a chlorine test, and the sewer needs vacuum test on the manholes. And I'm just curious if that's being done, and because once the people move in and say there was a water line that wasn't going to pass, the bacteria can back up your pipe. Someone gets sick. So
Back up into the system you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. It contaminate the whole water supply system.
it'll work itself right up. Needs to be flushed very well.
I am under the impression that this has been done. I did talk with Mr. Kelleher today about some of the inspections and what have you, and if he wasn't so busy, he would have was going to give me some paperwork.
Okay, well, that's a very important thing to do, is hire an independent tester. Blair can say he can do it, but he's not certified. In the town, once they have people that do just this. The town goes down and watches them take the sample, so everything's up above board and nothing's gonna go bad. So for what it's worth.
Well, that also limits the town's liability too, because you have an independent tester.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But we always had Gallagher testing, That's all he did at Boston, all around. So, you guys got any questions for me?
Well, just a response. Skip checked, and I just wrote a note for myself to check as well.
Yeah.
Norman, did you have a comment on it? I saw your hand.
I do recall getting reports on vacuum testing on the sewer. I don't recall the company name or whatever, but
Not on the water.
I don't recall.
No, just curious.
That's all,
Yeah.
we may have,
Okay.
but I know we did get some reports on the sewer testing.
All right.
Well, it is very important. It's close to my heart. It's what I did all my life. And I just wanted to throw that at you. All right?
Thank you, sir.
I know another water guy who feels like you.
Now, do you have any questions for me?
And he's ready to volunteer for the Water Commission?
No,
We've asked him before.
Mr. Johnson?
Yep.
What's that?
Ready to volunteer to be on the Water Commission?
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Oh.
But are you pleased that it's being brought up, though?
Yeah, I years ago I said that, but I'm glad it's brought up. And because these 3 or 5 particular people will be just doing water, which relieves a lot of work from you because they look at all the prints that come in with the planning board. And it's just a necessary thing.
So just so you're on the water and sewer anyway. I know you are.
The what?
You're on water sewer, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So just so that you know, it's going to be a separate entity. It's going to be separated completely from the highway department. This is what my thoughts are.
Well, I think it's a good thing. The reason being is the superintendent has a little bit more on his plate than he can do. I don't know how he does it all. So it should be. The way we had it, I worked over 20 years, and I was the water superintendent. I did everything, and if I needed help, I got someone from the highway. Jimmy McCollum, he used to dig the hole when the water leak go on. So I think it's
growing so fast that The water
Well,
department and sewer
it
department
is,
should have their
and
own
we
truck,
don't-
their own backhoe, the whole 9 yards.
We
in
don't
my
have,
opinion.
well, you can,
You paying for it?
you can, no, you don't need to buy separate backhoes, you can rent them from the highway. I mean, it'd be nice to everybody had a backhoe and a truck, you know, but you can work together. That's the way it always was.
Yeah, well,
Share resources, sure.
yeah.
Any more questions? All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
You ever have any questions, don't be afraid to call.
Will do.
I own one of the last small farms.
Let's keep it that way.
Oh, Richard wanted to speak. He was the one that dragged it up.
I dragged it up. Just to let you know, I did speak, sent a message down to Trish. She's buried right at the moment, but she's gonna look into it. I'm going down Thursday anyways to the meeting, and hopefully I'll have some information on that. And now that I hear how you people are starting to line it up, I'll pass that on also.
Great.
I should write things down because I'm getting old.
Wait a minute.
But one of the things after tonight, no, I mentioned it some time ago, but I'm going to bring it up again at the next probably planning board meeting. I would like to change subdivision rules and regulations in this town. I know it's hard and it's going to be a stinker, but I would like to see, just like in some of the other states, the infrastructure put in first. I don't mind it seeing going in phases, but it's got to be all done and inspected before house number one is put on it, period. I am tired of, I drove down to Bryce Lemon. I'm saying to myself, how are they going to get rid of all this stuff around here? Where are all those stumps going to go? You're going to bury them? You're not supposed to. You need almost somebody to hover with a drone over the whole place to keep an eye on the whole thing all the time. Concom, I mean, to me, I took a look at the detention pond. Why haven't they, Concom, come in and said, hey, bring in an excavator, scoop out the silt out of the bottom so the pond can, dissipate. To me, it's a hard thing, I know, for a developer probably to do that, but on the town's other end, you won't have this, because everything will be in place, infrastructure's all in and ready to go, and then once it's given the okay, then put the houses on it.
So
That's just,
changing the subdivision rules and regs is a vote of the planning board.
That's planning board, yeah. I know, it's a heck of a thing, but I'm gonna bring it up and just talk about it and see where it goes, if it goes anyplace. But, to me, this is one of the things I wanna see eliminated in the future. There were other things, but I will keep it for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret, budget updates.
Okay, I'm gonna give the board the condensed version. In the town department updates packet,
Yep.
you've got an updated levy sheet. The updates on this reflect the House budget cherry sheet numbers, which basically are essentially level funded. The application of another source of one-time revenues, we're looking to apply $3,485.87, the balance in the DPW garage construction capital project, and apply those excess debt proceeds to debt service this year. So it gives us one more funding source, but again, a one-time funding source. And those are really the bulk of the changes. Right below the shaded line on that sheet, you'll see raise and appropriate for budget recommendations, contingent budget reductions. At the moment, we still have an $8,142.49 gap in a contingent reduced budget. This is after making $121,000 in reductions from a budget request to a reduced budget in order to meet our gap. And I'll go through that with you a little bit. A lot of that does have to do, well, 45,000 of that has to do with equity wage adjustments, which I'm proposing to the board tonight. Page 2, local receipts. We did bump up estimated ambulance receipts by $11,450. It was at $400,000 at the start of the budget season. Based on FY17 actual receipts of $433,000. We have bumped that up to 95% of FY17 actuals at this point. There is a little more, we've been going back and forth in emails. There is a little more risk to doing this. At 95%, it's almost at the point of not being comfortable. However, with estimated local receipts, we do conservatively estimate all other sources of local receipts. And if for some reason there is a shortfall in ambulance receipts, a small shortfall of that 11,000, we feel that the other local receipt funding sources can absorb that. So that's been bumped up to try to help with the budget gap. We've also
How does that line up with what we just heard from the fire chief with less mutual aid calls and less revenue?
So February, we took a real hit. February, up until February, the receipts were actually exceeding the prior year's receipts. In February, we took a major hit. Was that with the 6-week out of service?
Yeah, so Mike, I don't know if you knew, our primary ambulance was involved in an accident in December.
No, I wasn't aware of
Out of
that.
service for 6 weeks. So that 6-week period that we only had one ambulance shows almost 2.5 months later when the receipts start coming in.
Okay.
So that's the February that she's talking
Yeah.
about, where you saw a decline in February. But we're
Gotcha.
back up now.
So
you're comfortable with those numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been communicating.
Yeah.
Well, I figured you have. I just.
Yeah. And amazingly enough, and we've been through this too, but amazingly enough, through the end of February, even with that 6-week out of service and I would say receipts were a little, probably 2/3 of what they were in the prior months, the receipts to date were only $450 roughly off of last year's. So, yeah.
All right.
So made that adjustment. Then we made some adjustments with indirects in the regional dispatch, regional ACO, water and sewer to reflect current year health insurance and insurance costs. So local receipts have been updated. These are totally up to date at this point. No intention now of increasing any of those because it would frankly be a little risky, a little uncomfortable.
Okay.
Okay, on the next sheet, well, we have a list of contingent budget reductions should the planning board, the recommended budget would be at the requested budget level. Planning board intends to present an amendment that would result in presenting contingent reductions through all of these municipal department budgets. FinCom intends to make a move.
Not
Did I say planning board?
Yes, you did.
I'm sorry, it's getting late. You don't intend to do that.
I was gonna say,
Finance
no.
committee. No, the finance committee.
You got that much of a problem? Wow.
I got planning board on the brain. So, so finance committee intends to make a motion to amend an article so that we can try to save these reductions. And again, the reductions, even though they already.
Articles there you're referring to?
This is the, I think they're doing it under the school's operations assessment article.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear.
Yeah. So this $121,000 reduction, we still need to come up with another $8,000 to close that gap.
Okay.
Okay? We don't have to go through the budget detail sheet. Those, again, the summary of all the changes are shown on this list right here, but you've got the detail sheets you can look through. Okay? So that's the budget as it stands right now. I also had capital updates on your, on the agenda for tonight, but there is really nothing new with capital updates. You saw the article last week. You voted to include it. Those are the capital items that are proposed for this spring. And the funding sources, of course, are shown on your free cash sheet. I did, however, provide you a tax rate impact sheet for both the capital exclusion and the debt exclusion, and I'm going to be posting those on the website along with a calculator so that people can calculate their tax rate impacts. Just for everyone's information, the debt exclusion would result in an 8 cent, roughly 8 cent impact on the tax rate. The annual the annual cost for an average, for an average $350,000 home would be $28.54. For the capital exclusion of $148,320 for the district's turf field replacement project, that tax rate impact would be about 17 cents. And on a $350,000 home, the annual cost, and it's only a 1 year, capital exclusion is a 1 year tax rate adjustment, it would be $61.03. The next item I have with associated with budget is a recommendation to the board on FY19 non-union wage equity adjustments. I've given you a recommendation. I've run several comps with surrounding towns. I use the towns of Leicester, Lunenburg, Uxbridge, Spencer, Holden, Clinton, and Sturbridge. And I also purposely retained the town's existing wage matrix, just shifting steps so that positions would be paid, so that several non-union positions that have fallen behind would be paid more equitably. And frankly, if you look at the graphs, I have a couple of graphs on the back of your packet. One shows where our wages, that's a thick black line, where our wages fall compared to the minimum and maximum medians and means from comp towns. You'll see that there are some positions that we have that are really lagging behind. And in the next sheet, if these FY19 adjustments made, those positions that are lagging far behind at least come up to minimum, median, and means from the surrounding comp towns.
Just a question. Why Spencer, Lunenburg? I mean, Spencer's close enough, but
Spencer, we have,
Lunenburg?
yeah, Spencer, Lunenburg. Lunenburg is a little higher in population, but it also has a similar EQV. So I took towns that had some similarities with ours and that were in the general region. And so there really isn't, we could drop one or more of these towns if the board
No, I was just
wanted.
curious because, you know, looking at some of the towns that you have here, as far as the type of revenue that they have for, I mean,
Right. And
populations might be there, but Sturbridge has quite a bit of commercial.
Yes.
Lunenburg has quite a bit of commercial. Spencer has quite a bit of commercial. Holden's probably got the lessest of them, but we've got next door Paxton, who has zero commercial.
Right,
we've
we could use Paxton,
Ocam,
which might be.
Hubbardston, you know, the towns that surround us. Holden, I can see.
Yeah.
But I just didn't understand why the Lunenburg and
Yeah.
being that far away.
I did take population into account because with these non-union positions, they're serving a population of a certain size too,
Okay.
and it's far different than an OCAM. And so
I
again,
understand
we
that.
could
That
just-
if that's the logic, I
Yeah.
can understand it. That's why
Yeah.
I'm asking the question: why those towns?
Yeah. So I am asking for the board's support. These equity wage adjustments would be shown in the FY19 budget request or recommended budget, but unfortunately, they would not be included in the contingent reduction budget, and it would continue to leave us lagging behind. So my preference would not be to pick and choose, but of course, that's the board's prerogative if you wanted to pick some positions over others in the case of budget reductions, but
Margaret, this is $46,000.
it's 45,918.23. That's right.
I think if we do
Among
it,
all the positions.
we have to do it with the full slate as recommended. I don't think it's fair to pick and choose,
I don't either.
especially when these are town employees
Right.
that service our residents.
Can I just ask about assistant town clerk? Are all
Sure.
the towns, is that the same hours as all of?
Some of these positions may vary in hours, in work schedules, so I don't have that answer.
But you still need, if it's an assistant town clerk, you still need the
I was comparing the
certifications and
job
Oh, of
duties.
course, but I'm
qualifications.
thinking these are full-time and these are.
Maybe. I'm prepared to put a motion on the table to accept the recommendation of the town administrator on the proposed equity adjustments, subject to funding availability.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
And that, oh, that's not all well, now we go into old business, I guess. That's all I have for my. Okay. Now, I would ask if the board would be willing to dedicate time on May 7th to reviewing all motions rather than doing some tonight and some on May 7th.
Sure.
And instead tackling the last articles for the annual town meeting warrant tonight that you didn't decide on last time.
Should we start early at 5:30? So it's not later in the evening?
No problem with that whatsoever.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. So,
Sounds great. 5:30.
bye, Norm.
Good night, Norm.
You don't want to stay till the very end?
No.
Okay, the board has already taken action to include the articles that were submitted by the Board of Assessors, so they were all set. The next one was Wachusett Greenways. That was one that the board held on at your last meeting. So,
And I'm gonna state the same thing I
I
did
thought
the
we
last
did.
time. No,
I
we
thought you made a
didn't.
motion, no?
No.
Yeah, I did,
I said I wouldn't make the motion.
and I did
You
make
made
it.
the motion.
I thought we voted on it.
I think we did. I think that that was one that was held. In fact,
Well,
yeah, it was all on that page except for that article.
Huh, okay.
That's not how I remember.
so I'm still, I'll say it, I've said it 100 times, I say it year after year after year, I'm gonna sound like Sheila, but that's all right. They get money given to them, they go out and do all kinds of stuff, they pull land out of tax title and make it free and to them, we lose taxes on it and everything else. I just can't see us giving them money when they get so much given to them by donations and whatever. That's me. I mean, this rest of the board can do
We are
whatever they would
talking
like.
$1,000.
Huh?
Right, we are talking the $1,000
Yeah, we're
donation.
still
This would be to
$8,000
include or
short,
not
Mike.
include.
I'm sorry?
This would be to include the article or not include
Right.
the article.
Yeah, but we're still $8,000 short of the money we need. But I mean, hey, if you,
I'm for it, but regardless of whether I'm for it or not, it should be on the warrant, let the townspeople decide.
I'll second that. I think you're right, you let the townsfolk decide.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed, and yes,
Okay,
I oppose.
all right.
If we
so-
had money to spare, Mike, I wouldn't have
I
a
understand.
problem.
I understand. But I still
And-
feel you need to let the citizens vote their conscience.
Okay, yep.
Okay, and the last one is the article that was submitted by the police chief. I put it in brackets. I think that was the only one on that page that was not, that action wasn't taken on. It was the acceptance of Chapter 41, Section 97A.
Right, but didn't we accept, well, we've got this citizens petition, which
That's
is a
on.
duplicate.
That's on, but the
Citizen
board,
petition
Which is
is
it?
on.
But you're here tonight,
Excellent,
and that's why I think why we waited.
right.
Why do you want this on here?
You mean in addition to the citizens petition?
Right,
Yeah,
I was unaware, it was a mistake. I wouldn't have put it on there
Oh,
had I understood that the citizens petition had already gone through.
yep,
yeah.
So if the citizens petition is on there, I will
Withdraw it.
my
Okay.
request, yeah.
by law, citizen petition have to be on.
yeah,
They
it's
have to.
mandated.
So if
They're
you like,
mandated.
I'll withdraw my request.
Okay,
Okay, so that solves that problem.
That's
easy
it.
enough.
You have
Done.
voted everything, and now it's time to motion motion to sign the warrants that have to be posted, by the way, by this Friday, I believe.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye. Sheila second. I saw that question mark on your face, so. Yeah, I got the look.
How many copies?
7.
While you're signing, I did get a response. There was a question that came up at the last meeting about an escalator on the solar pilot.
Yes.
I did get a response from the assessors.
Great.
Assessors responded. On the issue of the escalator, she said that we had already built in an escalator when analyzing the pro forma statement on earnings. And in the earlier projects, there had been an escalator with a lower price per megawatt. At the end of 20 years, it's the same dollar amount. Just a bit of follow-up.
Why are we doing so many of these? Huh?
Oh, 6 copies, each warrant.
No, we used to just sign one and do a copy machine.
Did you?
For posting. You was talking about posting?
I wanted to use
Gives us good practice on
No, we signed
what
more
the
than
school
one.
doesn't
No,
teach
it wasn't
anymore.
this many.
Okay.
Skip?
I thought we
Wasn't
signed
60.
3.
No.
We signed.
Skip. It gives us good practice on our cursive that the schools don't teach anymore. It's that
Okay.
new secret language.
I've lost
Yep.
my cursor.
You can't even read mine, so.
You can't
I know,
do
that's what I
either.
said, it's our secret language.
What time is it?
I know how I used to sign things.
Question, did DCR ever get back to you about the River Road tax?
Well, River
We haven't gotten a
Road?
response on that.
Because at the meeting that night, I talked to John Scanlon, he, along with the commissioner, was there, and they were talking a little bit about it, so John was gonna get back to me.
Okay, because we had contacted them to let them know where we were on the back
See what
tax
you're missing
issue.
here.
But we have
Who
not heard
skipped
back
it?
from
He
them.
didn't know it at first, and he said, well, we don't wanna touch it if there's back taxes, but they.
So we sent
So
it
one
to a
stick
woman
together did
directly
it?
in Boston, right?
The person that sent the letter.
Oh, that's why I'm off, because this is
What
not.
property are we
on there.
talking about?
It's a property down on 68. It's a bunch of little parcels that border Hubbardston, and
Oh,
DCR
okay.
wants to take. The one that came, yeah.
Yeah, I remember now. Sometimes I'm slow.
It's okay.
You've got last but least.
On good paper, too. You broke out the good paper.
These are all gonna be pinned up all over town.
Oh, we do?
Hold on this again.
Pricey.
Only because it's not required to grant funding. I just would like a little more time to look at it. But I will come back.
It's the
Anti-idling policy.
Yeah, that's the one we tried to start 3 years ago, 4 years ago, because the police department were leaving their cruisers outside the building, running all day and night.
I have an anti-idling sign actually in my office.
Yes, you do.
All right, so I would ask that the board.
That was before your time, Nick.
Yes.
Before your time.
Ending on a good note here.
There's the clarification.
No, Nick knows what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
There was certain individuals that come in on duty, park the car outside, and leave that thing running all night long.
Well, gas is cheaper back then, too.
All right,
No,
so
it wasn't, not at that time.
I
It was
just,
Moving on.
$4 a
it was always
gallon.
warmed up and ready to go.
I would ask for the board's approval of the board and committee appointment policy revisions. So those revisions are shown in italics. That the board shall take into consideration any or all of the following criteria prior to appointing new members, filling vacancies, and reappointing existing members to boards and committees. Written recommendation from the board or committee. Municipal and individual risk exposure due to potential conflicts under the state conflicts of interest law. Professional qualifications, experience, and availability of member as described in the member's letter of interest. And then on the second page, there's a couple of small changes.
I had requested one thing. We could approve it tonight as long as it gets added. We talked about, shall prepare in the back page, shall prepare at their next scheduled meeting or within 15 days after receiving a letter of resignation, whichever comes first. Because we have some boards and committees that don't all meet every 2 weeks. okay with adding that, I would make a motion to
Say that again?
approve. So right here, shall prepare at their next scheduled meeting, so this is after receiving the notice of resignation, at their next scheduled meeting or within 15 days after receiving the letter. I just want it to be whichever comes first, because we've had committees that don't meet in a month, which means now you're waiting a month before they even begin the process, and then there's another 15 days of posting.
So if they only meet every 30 days, you're
Yeah.
gonna need to wait 30 days.
Right. Right.
No, they would actually schedule a meeting. Oh, see? At their next scheduled meeting or within 15 days.
Right, so so there's a conflict there. If they don't have a scheduled meeting for 30 days,
They post one.
so you're trying to get them to
You're gonna
add
have
a
a
meeting.
special meeting for a resignation?
Yeah, no, I don't go with that.
Do the math, it's a long time that you're leaving
It
a
is.
vacancy.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
I was under the impression that you don't resign to the board, you resign to the town clerk.
Right.
Why don't we just strike or within 15 days after receiving a letter? Why don't you just keep it at their next scheduled meeting?
Right,
That would apply to all.
right,
Okay.
Okay?
sure. I'll make a motion to accept with that change.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. That's it.
We're not
Motion.
doing,
Motion for
is our first
adjournment.
review of this
What's that?
anti-idling?
No, actually, you've had it, I just asked if we could just hold on that for a
Yeah.
little longer.
Yeah, we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour.
We're past.
That's the 9 o'clock hour.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.